CFAX Victoria,
an iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Hello, good morning. It is 6 o'clock on Friday, May 22nd. Another sunny one. Temperatures might top out around 22 degrees today. It's 10 right now. Oh, I got a full long-range weekend weather forecast for you in just a moment. But first, let's get to the news, and here's Lisa Best. So I went to put your microphone on, and I pushed the wrong shiny red button. And
it's Friday.
And now it's time for the 6 o'clock news with Lisa Best, take two.
For real. 39-year-old Saanich man sentenced yesterday to the equivalent of 4.5 years in prison after pleading guilty last fall to a case of voyeurism that involves hundreds of women. Investigators identified 652 women and girls as victims of Yin Young Derek Chan. He will spend almost 2.5 years behind bars, accounting for time served after sentencing. He must also register as a sex offender. Detectives seized devices containing thousands of images and over 28 hours of offending video of women and girls that were reported at a variety of locations between April 1st, 2017 and November 30th, 2023. After a search of the suspect's home, they are still trying to track down the majority of these women in these videos. About 40 have been identified. The Sightsee Dam in northeastern BC has been renamed the John Horgan Dam and Generating Station. The official name honors the former late premier and local MLA. Horgan originally opposed the mega project, but ultimately decided it was in BC's best interest. His successor in Langford Islands, Ravi Parmar, talked about the announcement yesterday on the steps of the legislature.
Walking away would have been easier politically, but John understood something important. Leadership is not about making easy choices or easy decisions. It's about making the decision you feel that will serve future generations. John saw beyond the headlines of the day. He saw a growing province, more people calling British Columbia home, increasing demand for clean electricity, and the need to build the infrastructure that future generations would depend on.
The dam generating station construction began in July 2015. All 6 generating units entered service last August. The opposition at BC Conservatives are urging the provincial government to reach a new housing deal with the federal government soon. Ontario has such an agreement that includes a GST rebate on housing and development charge reductions. That means eligible new home purchases in that province can qualify for up to $130,000 in combined federal provincial tax relief. Housing Minister Christine Boyle hopes to have something announced to announce soon.
BC is working hard at negotiating a bilateral deal with the federal government, and that we are fighting hard for British Columbians to ensure that BC gets a deal that is as good as Ontario's. We are in those negotiations, and we look forward to having something to announce soon as part of our ongoing work to reduce the cost of delivering housing.
Housing critic Linda Hepner says BCers are not asking for special treatment. They're asking for fair treatment. If Ontario families can get that relief, she says BC families shouldn't be far behind. Albertans are set to vote on whether the province should remain part of Canada or begin a process of a referendum when they head to the polls in October. CTV's Graham Richardson has details from Premier Danielle Smith.
Muzzling the voices of hundreds of thousands of Albertans wanting to be heard is unjustifiable in a free and democratic society.
If you are pro-Canada in Alberta, you will have a chance to vote on that, according to the Premier. If you are a separatist in Alberta, Your vote to say, yes, I would like to kick off this process like she referenced, will mean another referendum, another process down the line. Already, some of the separatists are not happy.
In reaction to the news released yesterday, a quick response from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre declaring himself a strong Canadian federalist, pushing for a strong Alberta within a united Canada, and saying that's what all Conservatives have been campaigning for. Stephen Colbert hosting The Late Show one last final time last night, marking the end of an era in late-night programming. What was old was new again. He brought Paul McCartney on as a musical guest. Paul McCartney's first time back to the Ed Sullivan Theatre in 60 years after previously performing there with the Beatles. Colbert did his part to play up the controversy that was more linked to his feud with the U.S. president.
If you're just tuning into The Late Show, you missed a lot. I realized pretty soon in this job that our job over here was different. We were here to feel the news with you. And I don't know about you, but I sure have felt it.
CBS saying they canceled the show for financial reasons. Colbert hosted the late night show for 11 years after taking over from David Letterman in 2015. And Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, out in theaters now. Pedro Pascal, the actor, once again stars as a Mandalorian bounty hunter in the film, a continuation of the Disney Plus series. He tells ABC News one of his earliest memories of going to the movie theater as a child was to see Star Wars.
My earliest memories of going to the movies as a kid is Star Wars. I was born in 75, so there was a re-release of Star Wars before The Empire Strikes Back because I saw it in the movie theater. Obi-Wan Kenobi was decapitated by Darth Vader in my very, very, very early childhood.
Yeah, that traumatized a lot of us. And that's your news to 6:07. We'll go straight to weather. And your poll. Today's CFAX 1070 news poll, would you consider taking Ozempic or a generic equivalent in order to lose or maintain weight? 26% saying yes on our website. That number drops to 16% saying yes on Twitter X. You can vote now, CFAX1070.com, Twitter X, or the iHeartRadio app. And Lisa Best, your news time, 6:07.
Thank you, Lisa. And if you missed it, we had a fascinating, that's the word I'm looking for, fascinating conversation about these generic Ozempics with a UVic researcher yesterday. You can find it on the iHeartRadio app and look up the clip there. It was just interesting, her thoughts on whether or not this is healthy for us.
Well, and the reason why. It depends on why you're taking it.
Well, and that's the crux of it,
If it's obesity or diabetes, okay, but if you're just taking it to lose 20 pounds fast, like anything, maybe that's not so healthy.
Yeah, and she was saying that the sort of amount of that we are being bombarded with in the media, just social media is something to watch out for. And the thing that she said that really got me was who's profiting off of our unhappiness with our bodies.
Well, she's saying it, but she's not really saying it.
One of the things she kind of hinted at. So,
someone's making money off it for sure.
Interesting conversation. If you missed it, CFAX1070.com. You can find all of the clips, or you could follow Ryan and Lisa the podcast and listen to the whole show yesterday or any day. Give us a like, a subscribe, all those buttons that you have to push on the podcast things.
But not the red one.
Yeah, don't push the red button, then you start the news too early. That's when that happens. Hey, what's going on with the weather? Well, it's beautiful today, tomorrow, and it looks like Sunday is looking better than we were thinking originally. Good. The rain is still coming, but maybe now on Monday instead of Sunday, which is something that was originally in the forecast. We'll take a closer look in just a moment. But right now, my gosh, are there a lot of sports to talk about? We'll start in the NHL. The Canadiens surrendered the first goal 33 seconds in before they roared back with 4 of their own to close out the opening 20 minutes in a surprise 6-2 victory over the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 1 of the NHL's Eastern Conference Final. Canadiens head coach Martin St. Louis described the process of quickly flipping the page after Monday's Game 7 victory over the Buffalo Sabres to advance.
You got to be careful in giving so much information to players in a short amount of time. You got to pick a couple things and try to address that, and that's what we did.
So Game 2 goes Saturday, tomorrow, back at the Lenovo Center before the best-of-7 series shifts to Montreal. Now, in hockey with the Colorado Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights, Avalanche looking to even the series as they host the Vegas Golden Knights in the Western Conference Final. Vegas stunned Colorado with a 4-2 win in Game 1 back on Wednesday to take the early lead. Okay, a couple of local stories. The shoe finally dropped at Starlight Stadium with Pacific FC announcing head coach James Merriman has parted ways with the club following what they're calling a mutual termination. The first assistant coach, Yanni Salasidis, will take charge of the club's upcoming match against Cavalry FC. That's this Sunday. The team is winless all this season. Further information regarding the appointment of a new full-time head coach will be forthcoming, they say. And the Victoria Shamrocks opening up their Western Lacrosse Association season tonight. Victoria hosting Coquitlam at the Q Centre. And the race car world has been rocked by the death of Kyle Busch, a two-time Cup Series champion who won more races than anybody across NASCAR's 3 national series. He's died at the age of 41. A statement from the Busch family and NASCAR, a joint statement, said he died after being hospitalized. No cause of death given. Busch's family said earlier that he was hospitalized with a severe illness 3 days before he was scheduled to compete in the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And he'd been testing in a Chevrolet racing simulator on Wednesday when he became unresponsive and was transported to a hospital in Charlotte. That's according to several people who spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity because they hadn't officially got those those bits of information disclosed by Busch's team or family. But the picture's starting to emerge a little bit, but still a bit of a mystery there. And that's your sports to 6:11. CFAX activity, traffic, and weather. It is 6:12 here on a Friday morning, and the whole morning show is brought to you by Thrifty Foods, where happy is filling the garden with local flowers, herbs, and soils. Get growing with super savings at Thrifty Foods' BC Grown Garden Sale, which is on now. Taking a look at traffic just real quick to start with. Nothing much going on the roads, no crashes or accidents that I know of. But if you know of something, please do let me know. Text me at 71010. But yeah, looking clear right now. We have paving again on Cook Street, either side of Finlayson, and obstructions on Finlayson eastbound at times as well. And this is going to go on next week. We're just sort of settling into that bit of paving until they finish it off. For the BC ferries, no problems right now. From Swartz Bay to Tsawwassen, 7 o'clock sailing is coming up, and there's still lots of vehicle deck space left. And for the weather, let me get into this. So it's actually improved a bit since I was looking at this yesterday morning. Today, sunshine, highs of 22. That's expected. Tomorrow, sunshine, maybe a few clouds, highs around 20. That's expected. Now, we were originally thinking some rain might show up sometime Sunday. Now it looks like that's getting pushed off to Monday. Still coming, just maybe we make it through the whole day Sunday with dry conditions. Rain now maybe for Monday, and then going back to that mix of sun and cloud into next week after that clears up. And for the temperatures right now around the region, in downtown Victoria, you're looking at 11 degrees, and the official temperature at the Victoria International Airport right now is 10. Checking the markets. Well, opening bells are still scheduled to ring later this hour, so we don't have any results from today. So let's set up today by looking at how yesterday closed with Rob Westgate.
Bay Street saw a bit of a bounce back, assisted by the price of oil slipping slightly. Toronto's S&P TSX gained 248 pounds to close at 34,409. In New York, the Dow Jones Industrial Average added 276 points, while the Nasdaq inched forward 23 points. Asian markets improved as well, with Japan's Nikkei finishing up 1,655 points. And at last check, the Hang Seng in Hong Kong was above 220. As Canadian banks get set to report second quarter results next week, analysts are expecting year-over-year gains despite a challenging operating environment and slowing loan growth. And a painting of Prince Rupert, the Hudson Bay Company's first governor, has sold for more than $217,000 at auction. The 361-year-old portrait was once part of HBC's collection of art and artifacts that had to be sold off after its collapse. And finally, the loonie is trading at 72.51 cents U.S. From the Canadian Press Business Desk, I'm Rob Westgate.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for joining us, and happy Friday as we kick off this May 22nd. I'm Ryan. We got Lisa here. Lisa, how you doing?
I'm good. Well, yeah.
Yeah?
Thank you.
Welcome to Friday.
Thank you. We made it.
We made it.
It was a long week.
It was, all 4 days of it.
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
And now we're preparing for the weekend, which was a big part of the week. Because we have a lot going on.
It's a busy one. Swiftsure International Yacht Race kicking off. We've got the Oak Bay Half Marathon, and those are just a couple of things
we have
happening.
The Lions in Langford.
Ooh, tell me more about the Lions in Langford.
So 5 to 9 tonight, there's a big party. Born Reckless is playing.
Yeah?
Country rock band in Langford. And then the preseason game against the Edmonton Elks tomorrow.
And then, that's of course happening. Yeah, the big, all the Lions stuff in Langford, that's going on.
So
and
there's
then
a big party starting tonight. And it's only $15 to get in.
Well, that's cool. So if you go see the sort of hype concert,
yeah,
and then go to the game tomorrow. Yeah. So that's going on in Langford. And then most importantly, out of all of this, is Medal for Munchkins, of course, for CFAX Santa's Anonymous tonight at the Phoenix Bar in Saanich.
Yay.
You can go see a plethora of different genres of rock and metal.
That means a lot.
Playing in support of CFAX Santa's Anonymous. Check out a rock concert and help out our favorite charity
but
here.
the organizer did say it wasn't all metal.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
be
what he said. He said
scared
it's a bunch of different...
folky.
Yeah, a whole bunch of different acts coming.
All right.
Medal for Munchkins Spring Fling. That's the full name.
Okay. And it's at a good
Bar.
location. That's a good live band bar.
Think of all the things going on this weekend. It's busy.
The Spot Prawn Festival's on.
Is that also happening?
Yeah.
Oh my! I love it when the spot prawns come around. They're actually
Me too, because they're tasty.
Yeah, they're delicious.
So that's outside Finest to See. They like to have a party there. So on the grassy area across from it, they're having a party 11 to 5 Saturday, Sunday, and there's a bouncy castle worth the price of admission. You know they have the adult bouncy castles. Sometimes the festivals bring those in.
I was about to say we need more of those,
and they have to actually teach adults how to do it again.
Well, the thing is it seems like a great idea because you're like, I remember this was fun as a kid, and then you get onto it and you realize
I have alcohol in my system.
Now I feel sick, and now I hurt in places I didn't know were supposed to hurt.
I don't want to bounce.
I don't want to do this anymore.
Mom, I want to go home.
Yeah, basically.
I've got a headache. It's kind of funny.
I'm talking myself out of the adult bouncy castle already.
It's a thing, and when we looked at it, we thought, yes, that's a great idea. Now, this particular one is for children, of course, at Finest at Sea, but we've seen the adult ones, and yeah, it's a good idea. And then you see people bouncing around it. They do not have smiles on their faces. No. So if you're going to use the bouncy castle at any festival coming up this summer, do it before you have a drink.
Yes, or be 20 years old.
Oh, well, there's that, but there's also the liquid sloshing around in your stomach. It's kind of like seasick.
Totally. No.
Right?
Okay.
Don't want to have that either.
So as you head towards this beautiful weekend in Victoria, think twice about the adult bouncy castle. Not that there is one.
Kids have
just if you happen to come across
just an
one.
Observation.
Okay. All right.
There will be one this summer. Somewhere.
What else is going on, Lisa? At 6:18, here are the news headlines.
What there isn't so far this season is active wildfires. We have 21 burning in the province. None of them are out of control, according to the BC Wildfire Services map. And there's been no new fires in the last 24 hours. And, of course, that includes here on Vancouver Island. The city of Burnaby taking steps, though, to make sure they keep control on things. They've installed a new system to detect wildfires on Burnaby Mountain and elsewhere. The city says the system uses sensors and smoke detection cameras in strategic locations to identify the early signs of fires when they spark. Says the Burnaby Fire Department will be able to quickly respond if the system detects smoke or heat to contain the small blazes before they grow into something bigger. Burnaby Fire Chief Miles Ritchie says detecting those fires early is critical in reducing the risk and saving homes and lives. The Canadian Border Service Agency says the continent's northernmost border crossing with the U.S. is going to open today. It's open daily from 7 to 9. The agency says the Little Gold Creek port of entry remains open till mid-September. The CBSA says the border crossing saw more than 10,000 travelers enter Canada last year. It says the crossing is most often affected by severe weather, which can disrupt the seasonal opening and closing of the entry port with Alaska. The crossing is just over 105 kilometers from Dawson City on the top of the World Highway, which is closed during the winter months. And NATO allies and defense officials have expressed bewilderment at the U.S. president's announcement that he would send 5,000 U.S. troops to Poland. This came just weeks after he ordered the same number of forces being pulled out of Europe. The apparent change of mind came after weeks of statements from Trump and his administration about reducing the U.S. military footprint in Europe. Trump's initial order set off a flurry of orders among military commanders and left allies already doubtful about America's commitment to Europe's security. And they're pondering what forces they might have to backfill on NATO's eastern flank with Russia and Ukraine. That is your news to 621.
Traffic and weather coming up in just a moment. If you see a problem out there on the roads, text us at 71010.
The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe.
Everyone wants to know about real estate. Is the market going up or down? Time to buy or sell? How can government programs and policies affect you? Hear from local experts on topics like appraisal, inspection, investment, and others on how to maximize your real estate sale.
Providing info on everything you needed to know about real estate. The Whole Home Show with Tony Joe. Saturdays at noon on CFAX 1070.
It's 6:23 here on a Friday morning, and the roads look very clear. No crashes, no accidents, no volume delay as of yet. And Fridays tend to be a little easier on the commute, particularly from the West Shore into Victoria. So we'll see if that shapes up today. For BC Ferries, no sailing waits, and the weather's looking beautiful. Sunshine right through the weekend now. Originally clouds and maybe some rain. That was supposed to be in the forecast for Sunday, or at least I should say that was originally in the forecast for Sunday. But now it looks like that might arrive sometime on Monday, leaving us with a dry weekend, maybe a few clouds building as Sunday goes on, but we might make it through the whole weekend dry. I mean, we could use a bit of rain, I suppose, but nice to get through the weekend before it starts. Temperature-wise, over the next few days, temperatures are still going to be around about 20 degrees during the day, and then dropping to lows of 10 to 11 degrees overnight. And in the long-range forecast, once we get through maybe some rain on Monday, we could dry up again by Tuesday, and the rest of the week is looking like a mix of sun and cloud, and kind of back to what we're getting today. Just more of the stable, sunny, highs around 20 degrees kind of situation might be what we're back to next week.
The best way to start an island morning. Ryan and Lisa on CFAX 1070.
I find it funny, the things that stick with you and that you really remember for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there's no reason why that particular thing stands out in your memory. But I can remember about 2017. It was almost 10 years ago at work here at CFAX.
Okay.
Having some news conference on the TV that we were following.
Mm-hmm.
And it's then brand new Premier John Horgan.
Mm-hmm.
stepping out onto the camera, looking like just ill, just unhappy, kind of upset, sort of disgusted, just looked off.
Okay.
And he's kind of sweaty. It was like, what's going on here? Why does he look like this?
Right.
And then he announced that his new NDP government in coalition with the Green Party that he had at the time had decided to proceed with a project that he had been campaigning against from opposition, along with the Greens. And the fact that he had to do this, I gather, he got into government. Then you start to see different realities than you did in opposition. And it seemed like it had just gone too far to cancel the Site C hydroelectric dam project in BC.
I think we all felt that way about the project. It's just gone too far down the line.
Well, yeah, you had to do it. And just, I guess, just the look of how, ill he was to have to say these words.
Almost disgusted, yeah.
And now fast forward to yesterday.
Yeah.
When the BC government has announced that it is going to be officially named no longer the Site C Dam. It is going to be the John Horgan Dam and Generating Station.
Why do you think?
Why are they putting his name to it? I don't know.
His swan song, he wanted that to be the upgrades to the museum downtown, the BC, the Royal Museum. That was something that what was it, 800 million?
Well, it was roughly $1 billion to fully redo the Royal BC Museum.
The timing was poor on that. We were going through pandemic. We had cutbacks. Nothing's really changed in department for many people, and people just balked at the idea. But now to put his name on something that he really wasn't for, he went along with because, sometimes the ball rolls out from under you, and that's what it seemed had happened because the project moved forward. It's like, okay, we'll do this. I don't like it, but now his name's on it.
Well, the government was acknowledging kind of the humor in this yesterday.
Well,
they did mention that it's a little funny that if he were alive today, he would have been kind of laughing at this and probably wouldn't want his name attached to this thing. But there you go. They still wanted to honor the man and at his time. So his name's going on the dam. I just think he would either think this is really funny or be really mad. I'm not sure which one.
We could switch it and call it Damn Horgan.
Damn.
He might like that.
Actually, he probably would.
You find that funny.
No, but I'm just remembering all those years ago, 2017, watching that news conference and how sick he looked to say those words, and that it's just funny to hear.
Well, he was very expressive that way as a politician. I think we loved him for that. He called a spade a spade. He really would be, if he didn't like something or he didn't like you or he didn't like the situation, you knew it. And when on the opposite side of it, when he did, he was shining. So you saw both of those, right? At different times. And to see him looking physically ill because of having to acquiesce to this. Yeah. It's interesting that it stuck with you too over these years. So it's sort of come full circle now.
Yeah, it was just weird things that stick with you. And in hindsight, I think with the electricity demands that the province is facing, it probably was the right move to have more power generation in the province through a method that doesn't create any greenhouse gases. But still, it was controversial at the time.
Right, but I think most people, the problem a lot of people had with it was the sticker shock again of all of these projects and the amount of time it takes to build it and the earth moving that it involved. What was it doing to the environment to build it? So there was a lot of things at the time that just not knowing was freaking a lot of people out.
Hey, we got to get to the 6:30 news, but there you go. A little trip down memory lane as we look at this news yesterday. The John Horgan Dam instead of Site C Dam. I think it's going to take a while to... Dam Horgan. It's going to take a while for me to not call it the Site C Dam, by the way. Anyways, we'll get to the 6:30 news coming up in just a moment. Traffic and weather, too, and lots of going on in sports, including a coaching change for one of our local sports teams. That's next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
Join Capital Bike for Spring Go By Bike Week, May 30th to June 5th. Register and find celebration stations at gobybikebc.ca. Sign up for the Walk for Alzheimer's Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Hello, good morning. It's 6:31 on Friday, May 22nd. Looking at a sunny day today, and it might be dry all weekend. The revised forecast no longer calling for rain on Sunday, and I'll get you the full details in just a moment. Right now, though, the news begins, and here's Lisa.
Thank you, Ryan. Good morning. Health officials are defending the decision to bar a Detroit-bound Air France passenger traveling from an Ebola hotspot zone in Central Africa from entering the U.S. That flight from Paris was diverted to Canada, Montreal, where the passenger disembarked. Canadian officials say the passenger did not show symptoms and is unlikely to spread the Ebola virus. Deborah Mister was a passenger on the flight and says the captain announced the flight was being diverted to Montreal Airport.
The flight attendants all had masks on, which no one had had on prior to that announcement. So it was really concerning, like, what is going on here?
What is? WHO chief saying now the Ebola outbreak in Congo is spreading rapidly and now poses a very high risk at a national level. As Canadian banks get set to report second quarter results next week, analysts expect year-over-year gains despite a challenging operating environment and slowing loan growth.
Analysts say the banks are likely to post solid growth in earnings per share, but investors will be eager to hear what executives expect for the second half of the year. This quarter is expected to come with an overall uptick in provisions for credit losses, which is the money set aside by banks to cover loans in case of default. The results come against the backdrop of a still uncertain economy, with employment having risen this year, weakened activity in the housing market, and lingering questions over Canada's trade relationship with the United States. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press, Toronto.
Ahead of a meeting in Sweden of foreign ministers of NATO countries, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was talking this morning about the Middle East. He says there are, in his words, slight progress in the talks with Iran, but that several sticking issues remain.
We're going to have to address the issue of enrichment. We're going to have to address the issue of the highly enriched uranium. And then added to this, of course, is the issue of the Straits. Iran is trying to create a tolling system. They're trying to convince Oman, by the way, to join them in this tolling system in an international waterway. There is not a country in the world that should accept that.
Meantime, there's anger on Capitol Hill in the U.S. over that controversial $1.8 billion Trump administration fund to compensate people who they say were targeted by the Biden administration. There's now scuttled votes on a $70 billion immigration enforcement package. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche went to Capitol Hill to answer questions from Republican senators about the fund, but they still weren't satisfied that they couldn't find a way to move forward on immigration spending. ABC's Ali Peckrin covers Capitol Hill.
He met with Senate Republicans for over 2 hours on Thursday. And from what we know from folks in the room, things got pretty intense. We've heard there was yelling in the room, fighting in the room. A lot of Republicans who we don't usually hear speaking up against the administration, saying their piece, trying to persuade the administration to take a different stand on this fund.
In the end, though, Blanche's efforts weren't enough and the votes on the immigration package were cancelled. A Prince Rupert painting with a mysterious backstory is sold for a high number at auction.
The 361-year-old portrait was once owned by collapsed department store Hudson's Bay Company, which has aired Heffel Fine Art Auction House to sell its 4,400 pieces of art and artifacts. The Prince Rupert painting's purchase price of $217,250 includes the hammer price of $180,000 plus the buyer's premium, and it was sold at live auction in Toronto's ritzy Yorkville neighborhood, where several other pieces, including art from the Group of Seven, were also on offer. John Kennedy, The Canadian Press.
And that's your CFAX News to 6:35. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning, we're asking, would you consider taking Ozempic or the generic equivalent in order to lose or maintain your weight? 26% saying yes on our website, that number dropping to about 17% on Twitter X. You can vote also on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Bastian, News Times, 6:37.
Thanks, Lisa. Good morning. Sunshine today. Highs up to about 22 degrees. It's 10 right now. CFAX 1070 Sports. Well, we'll wait and see what comes out of this, but we have a coaching change at Pacific FC. The Langford-based soccer club is winless all season so far, and they finally made the decision. They announced yesterday that head coach James Merriman has parted ways with the club following what they called a mutual termination. The club thanked Merriman for his dedication and the many years of service that he gave to Pacific FC. He's the first coach. He's been there the whole time. First assistant coach currently with the club, Yanni Salasides, will take charge of the club's upcoming match at Cavalry FC this Sunday, and further information about a new head coach is coming, they say. So that move coming out of Pacific FC. Also on the local sports scene, tonight the Shamrocks lacrosse season kicks off. It is the opener of their Western Lacrosse Association season versus Coquitlam, and it's at home at the Q Centre. So that's coming up tonight. In hockey, last night, Montreal Canadiens surrendered the first goal 33 seconds in. Didn't look like a good start, but they roared back with 4 of their own in the opening 20 minutes and went on to win 6-2 over the Carolina Hurricanes in the opening game of the NHL's Eastern Conference Final. Canadiens head coach Martin St. Louis reflected on the performance.
We played through identity tonight. Nice balance. We let the puck do the work. We were very opportunistic on our chances.
And then in the West, Colorado and Vegas Golden Knights go at it again tonight. Vegas picked up the first game of that series 4-2 back on Wednesday. Okay, now over to baseball, where the Toronto Blue Jays are back in action, playing host to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the opener of a 3-game series. Toronto wrapped up its 4-game series against the Yankees in New York last night with a 2-0 win. So Kevin Gausman will get the start for Toronto, while Pittsburgh counters with Bubba Chandler. And still a lot of mystery surrounding the death of NASCAR racer Kyle Busch. He died at the age of 41. That came from a statement from the family and NASCAR jointly. He was hospitalized, they say, with a severe illness and then suddenly died. And no cause of death has been given yet. We've learned a little more. Busch was apparently testing in the Chevrolet Racing Simulator just on Wednesday when he became unresponsive and was transported to the hospital in Charlotte. That's according to several people familiar with the situation who told that to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity because the details have not been disclosed officially by Bush's family or the team. But that's what we know so far. That's the CFAX News to 6:39. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. It is an easygoing day on the commute so far. No crashes, no accidents, and lighter than usual volume delays, which we often will see on a Friday. For instance, let's pick on Souk today. I always like to grab a neighborhood and just see what their commute times are looking like. From right in downtown Souk to right in downtown Victoria, that's about a 45-minute trip right now, and that seems to be lighter and quicker than usual, I would say. Maybe not for a Friday, but compared to most days of the week. If you see any problems or crashes or accidents or other issues out there, do text us at 71010. And for the weather forecast, we're looking at a sunny day today. Highs of 22 degrees. As usual, cooler by the water. Clear skies overnight. A little wind blows down to 10. Tomorrow is another day with mostly sunny skies. Highs of 19. And a mix of sun and cloud for Sunday as well, with the rain seeming to hold off until Monday. Might cool off slightly on Sunday. Temperatures getting up to about 17 degrees. And you know what? That's not bad. Slightly cooler. Not bad for all those folks racing in the Oak Bay Half Marathon. And sunshine for tomorrow's big Lions, BC Lions at Starlight Stadium. Lots going on this weekend and some good weather for it, with showers holding off till Monday. What's happening on the markets? Well, the opening bells for North American stock markets will be ringing, are just ringing right now, so we got no results, but I'll tell you about how yesterday closed. Bay Street saw a bit of a bounce back, aided by a slight slip in oil prices. Toronto's S&P TSX gained 248 points, closing at 34,409. In New York, the Dow Jones Industrials averaged 276 points to 50,286. The Nasdaq inched up 23 points to 26,293. Canadian dollar overseas trading this morning, it's been around 72.53 cents US.
Let's get started. Start your day informed and entertained. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
We were talking earlier about this decision to name the Site C Dam after former Premier and, of course, Langford guy, John Horgan. So it'll now be known as the John Horgan Dam and Generating Station. And we were joking that he was a guy who campaigned against this thing for a lot of his time. But then as Premier had to make the tough decision to continue with it, even though he had been against it. David Eby, the Premier, saying that naming the John Horgan Dam and Generating Station after John Horgan reflects the challenging decisions that confronted Horgan during his time as Premier. And they recognize that, if Horgan were alive today, he probably wouldn't want anything to be named after him, but they were talking about that yesterday during the ceremony. Texters at 71010 weighing in. Texter says, "Good morning, Ryan and Lisa. I think Mr. Horgan would appreciate the irony. Remember, there is another spelling of the word dam." Oh, you were doing this earlier, Lisa. Damn Horgan. It's the damn Horgan.
Which he would find funny.
Yeah. And this texter goes, I think John Horgan Dam really fits in that context. That's from Chris. Thank you, Chris, for texting in.
Yeah. John getting the final word.
Yeah, there you go. Well, what do you think? I think it is actually kind of funny to think about that. I'm coming around to it being just a funny thing to do.
Well, they're finding the humor in it. And, someone had asked, too, do you think that his family was consulted? And I bet that Ellie and his sons were consulted about it. It's only fair to put someone's name on it. You should ask the family first. It's interesting. Funny, and memorable too, because it does bring up all these memories, and you have a strong one of John not liking it at all, leaving a really bad taste in his mouth that he has to go along with it.
Yeah, what do you think of the decision to, in spite of that, to name it after John Horgan?
I like it better than Site C.
Well,
it sounds a lot better than Site C. When we put someone's name on it, it kind of personalizes it. I guess we have to own it, so we'll own it.
And you know what's interesting is that becomes the second hydroelectric dam, I think, on that same river, named after a premier, because, of course, there's the W.A.C. Bennett Dam,
right,
also named after a BC premier. So I guess there's a bit of a precedent for naming these things after premiers. So it's not coming out of nowhere. But anyways, interesting stuff. Let us know what you think. Over to the headlines now at 6:45. Here's Lisa.
Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says she's received information 12 Canadians were abused while detained in Israel. The dozen were part of a Gaza flotilla recently intercepted by Israel, and they're now in Turkey. Anand says that the people responsible for what she calls appalling abuse must be held accountable. She summoned the Israeli ambassador over the treatment of the Canadian, but Israel's embassy would not comment. A series of last-minute problems led to the scrapping of the SpaceX launch. SpaceX got within a half a minute to launching its newest and biggest Starship on a test flight before the idea was scrapped. The SpaceX CEO Elon Musk later said a hydraulic pin holding the launch tower's arm in place did not retract. Yes, I could see that being a problem. He says another launch attempt of the 124-meter rocket will happen today if the problem can be fixed quickly. And next weekend, mark it in your calendar, the annual Catwalk is back in Fernwood. Only Fernwood could do this and pull it off and make it a success. The self-guided Catwalk tour runs from 2 to 4 next Saturday, where you can meet some of the community's most charismatic kittens. Yes, it is exactly what it says it's going to do. This event features 41 cats across 29 cat stops at various homes. Cat herding volunteers will be stationed throughout the route, and you can vote on the best cat stop. It is a fundraiser. Your $2 donation will go to support Victoria Humane Society. Is it a success? Well, more than 500 cat lovers turned out for the Fernwood Catwalk last year. So this year, it returns. That's your news to 6:47.
Did you catch any of the finale for the Stephen Colbert Late Show at all?
I caught a lot of it on social media, and it was pretty moving. Like it was, I thought, very poignant moments.
And the one of the poignant moments was, I think, having Paul McCartney come out and sing the big finale. He did the Beatles song Hello, Goodbye, and they all sung it, and it was a moment. But it made me think, do you remember yesterday I was talking about my experience going there to the Ed Sullivan Theater to see a taping of one of these shows. And one of the biggest things that struck me was like, this is where the Beatles performed on Ed Sullivan. Like, I'm in the room where that happened. And I just thought that was such a big moment. Well, apparently that was the first time Paul McCartney had performed there since then.
Wow.
Like, as actually performed a song.
Yeah.
So this is the first time since that moment on the Ed Sullivan Show back in the 60s. So with one of that room's most historic moments being kind of echoed in this finale yesterday. I thought that was kind of cool. I enjoyed that. But yeah, that is in the wraps. Stephen Colbert's show is over.
11 years.
The Late Show is done. And
now what?
Yeah, he's going to go write, apparently.
Oh, I bet.
A Lord of the Rings movie.
Yes, he was doing that, and I think that's amazing. There may also be something more biographical coming out, you could bet, too.
Yeah?
Something about, well, his decade of, late night hosting. He's a very smart man, and also his clash with the U.S. president. I think a lot of people would like to hear what he has to say, pen to paper.
Well, we'll see what happens next for Stephen Colbert. But yeah, big moment on TV last night as that ended, and we'll follow it. But right now, let's take a quick break. Traffic and weather coming up. And then there's a new initiative to talk about. The Our Place Society is expanding its women's therapeutic recovery community. And I think the idea is, if you're somebody getting treatment and you got to figure out what that next stage is after that. Like, what do you move on to?
Right.
Well, they're trying to do a new thing where they try to reunite you with your family as that next stage and provide a better sort of environment and circumstance for that. I'd love to learn more about this, so we're going to reach out to the director of New Roads at the Our Place Society next.
The CFAX 1070 Summer of Rock. All right. Win a trip to Vancouver and catch a concert from the Sax Point Pub Summer of Rock lineup. Listen to CFAX from 6 till 6.
When you hear a clip from our Artist of the Week,
Text ROCK to 71010 with your first name
to win that concert.
You'll fly with Helijet and stay at the Rosedale on Robson Suite Hotel. Brought to you by the Sax Point Pub in Esquimalt.
Stream us on the iHeartRadio app.
CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. At Thrifty Foods, Happy is filling the garden with local flowers, herbs, and soil. Get growing with super savings at Thrifty Foods BC Grown Garden Sale, which is on now. Okay, so for the roads, things continue to look lighter than usual, or maybe not so on a Friday. It's usually lighter volume from the West Shore commute on a Friday with flex days or whatever it is. And that's kind of playing out today. It's not a lot out there facing you when it comes to volume delays. No crashes or accidents. I think the short story is the commute's looking great. Same with BC Ferries, no sailing waits. And in the weather, that's improving as well. We got a huge weekend. In fact, I was talking about all the reasons why it's great to have some sunshine this weekend, from the BC Lions game in Langford, from the Oak Bay Half Marathon on Sunday. We got the Swiftsure Yacht Race going on. And this texter says, good morning, CFAX. You haven't mentioned anything about the Ironman 70.3 triathlon this Sunday. That's true. There's the big Ironman thing going on around Elk Lake on Sunday as well. You got good weather for that, too. Everything's going on this weekend. And it's going to be just sunshine for today, for tomorrow, and Sunday. Temperatures today at a high of 22, Saturday a high of 19, Sunday a high of 17. So kind of cooling off a little bit, which actually might be good for all those athletics. And then the rain shows up, it looks like, on Monday. Right now, for the temperatures, it's about 10 degrees, give or take, around the region.
It's all here. News, weather, traffic, and community events. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
My guest is the director of New Roads at the Our Place Society, Cheryl Diebel, joining us. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, Brian. Thanks for having me on today.
Great to get you here. And the reason we're going to talk to you today is Our Place is expanding this women's therapeutic recovery community with the launch of a new thing. It's called Reunification House. And my rough understanding, and then you can explain it to me better, is that, you go into recovery, and then you got to get that next stage. After you've done the initial stage, what do you do? Where do you go off to? This is there to try to help specifically mothers and their children kind of return together after that first stage of recovery. Is that my rough understanding of this?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, talk us through how this works and what's opening up here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we started our women's program just a year ago. And for that program, it's a long-term program of recovery for women. It's 9 to 24 months. And we quickly realized that many of the women that we're serving in our women's program were looking for reunification with their children, with their families. And so in seeing that right off the hop, kind of when we opened up, we realized that having some kind of continuum of care, aftercare, in other words, when they leave treatment, that would support them in reuniting with their children was kind of the next step in the continuum of our care system. And so we have purchased a 4-apartment complex, and we're opening a reunification house is what we're calling it. And that's for moms to, when they leave the treatment program, that they can reunite with their children in a supportive environment that will continue on their wellness and recovery path that they've started in the treatment program.
Okay, so in these housing units, the mother who's going through recovery treatment goes into it with their child, and it's kind of, I guess, a soft launch of reunification in a supported environment. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Gotcha.
So providing supports and within a community context. And it's just a continuation of women being able to access supports within their own community. Our women's program, one of the reasons we launched that program a year ago was that women who needed long-term treatment on the island had to go to the mainland to get that. It wasn't offered on the island. And so we opened that long-term treatment facility, and now we're opening this reunification house with the same kind of concept where women can actually get supports and further their recovery path in their own home community with their children.
What kind of supports keep happening when you move into this stage, into the reunification house? So you're there, you've now got some family involved, but what kind of supports do you still receive?
So we'll have staff connected to the program that will help support the women finding resources, whether that's childcare, educational programming for them and their children, or employment programming for the mom. And it'll be staff that they're already aware of and have worked with in our treatment program. So it's a continuation of that relationship that we've built with them. And so we'll be just looking at what ongoing supports each mom and children need, and then assessing that and supporting them through that.
I can imagine that this has to actually be a hugely motivating factor behind a lot of women going into treatment for addiction, is that desire to either get back with their children or be there for their children in some way. This is probably a big reason for success, I guess, in treatment, or how does that work?
Yes, I think for many of the women, and again, I think that's what we quickly realized last year, is that for many of the women, the decision to seek treatment is deeply rooted in motherhood. And so entering treatment is a mechanism to heal, to regain custody, build trust, and restore the relationships with their children and their family in general. And so they're deeply motivated with that connection to their children, for sure.
Well, we're learning about a new way we're trying to help out with, an addictions and drug crisis that's going on all across, the country, really, and here in Victoria is certainly experiencing it. But Our Place expanding another path for treatment. This is the Women's Therapeutic Recovery Community getting reunification house. Is it open now?
It is just finishing the renovations, and it is officially going to be welcoming our first clients in the next month.
Okay, so coming soon. Anything else to add as we get you here talking about this? What else is important to know?
I think just that we're really excited to be able to offer this in something different and something that is filling a gap within the continuum or care system or pathway of care. And so it's kind of a new program that will fill a gap that's existing within the community and for the people that we serve here at New Roads, and ensuring that they have a next step to look forward to. Because once you leave a treatment program, if there's not supports in place, maintaining the gains that you made is very difficult. So this is another mechanism that we're able to do that for people.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to us and telling us about it. Shara Diebel is the director of New Roads at the Our Place Society. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. Take good care.
Okay, yeah, interesting stuff. Again, I get that. It kind of makes sense to tap into those natural reasons for success, those natural reasons why somebody might want to get to recovery, get off the addiction. And family is certainly a huge pull there, particularly for women, I'd assume. So interested to see that play out here in Victoria. We'll follow that. But right now, we'll take a break. 7 o'clock news next.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Hello, good morning. 7:01 on Friday, May the 22nd. Sunshine today, highs of 22 degrees, and a fine-looking weekend ahead of us as well. Full forecast in a moment. Right now, the news begins, and here is Lisa Best.
Good morning. Going to be a great weekend to go swimming. Watch yourself and make sure you have the skills. Nanaimo RCMP dealt with 2 separate drowning incidents this week alone. Police were called for a well being checked on a woman in Departure Bay Beach around 6 Wednesday night. The search that ensued involved a military search and rescue, locating the woman dead not far from the beach. About 3 hours later, foul play is not suspected. While that search was being done, another report received about a man who appeared to be in distress in the water. This while swimming in the vicinity of the 1200 block of Stewart Avenue. Emergency responders were able to pull the individual from the water, but he could not be resuscitated. He was unfortunately pronounced dead at the scene. Early indication also saying no foul play in this case. So both incidents of drowning have Nanaimo RCMP issuing a warning to watch yourself on the water. Another news about water and electricity. The province and BC Hydro announcing the Site C Dam in northeastern BC will officially be known forward as the John Horgan Dam and Generating Station. The official name honors the former Premier and local MLA of Langford. Premier David Eby admits the popular former Premier wasn't always in favor of this project.
It would be completely disingenuous to stand here and pretend that John supported this project. So I won't do that. He had misgivings about this project. As he famously said, there are many positions on the Site C Dam. I should know. I've held all of them. But his one North Star that directed him in his time as Premier was to put British Columbians and put the province first in every single decision.
The dam generating station began construction in July of 2015 with all 6 generating units entering service 10 years later in August of 25. The Supreme Court of Canada again has granted the province's request to hear its appeal on the mineral rights case that triggered the debate on the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act. Attorney General telling Question Period yesterday that this is a step forward.
I'm really happy actually to give an update to the House on some news that we heard this morning, that the Supreme Court of Canada granted our leave application. We were successful in getting leave to appeal. This is an avenue to address the legal challenges that is open to us now, along with the discussions that we're having with various stakeholders about solving DRIPA. We're going to get there, Mr. Speaker, and we're working hard at doing that.
Interim Conservative leader Trevor Halford says he remains skeptical that the legislature will have a new bill regarding DRIPA when they return from the summer break. A heartwarming dog story out of Quebec this morning when Victor Ball walks across the stage to collect his degree for mechanical engineering from Montreal's École Polytechnique. His service dog, Kopek, will be at his side.
The 8-year-old Labrador Bernese Mountain Dog Cross has attended every single class with Ball as a service dog who is trained to help those with autism spectrum disorder. Ball has had a service dog ever since he was 12 and describes Kopek as his sword and shield when it comes to facing the world. He says she is by his side 24 hours a day to calm and comfort him, and she's trained to distract him whenever his stress levels rise. Now he's sharing his story to help give other families hope as he enters the job market and pursues a career as an engineer. Rob Westgate, The Canadian Press.
And Stephen Colbert signed off the Late Show last night on CBS, officially airing the final show. The host was joined by Paul McCartney for the last show Thursday night. McCartney was with the Beatles when he was in that same building, the Ed Sullivan Theatre, for their first American performance. That was back in 1964. He hasn't been back since. CBS ended the show after a 33-year run, citing economic factors.
I'll say to you what I've said to every audience for the last 11 years, and I have meant it every time. Have a good show. Thanks for being here. And let's do it, y'all.
Colbert now working on becoming an author. That's your news to 7:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question we're asking, would you consider taking Ozempic or the generic equivalent in order to lose or maintain your weight? 26% saying yes on our website, 16% saying yes on Twitter X. You can also vote on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 7:07.
Hey, thanks, Lisa, and good morning. Welcome to Friday with a beautiful weekend ahead. Sunshine today, highs of 22 degrees, and it looks like that rain holds off until Monday. Fingers crossed it stays that way. I'll get you a full look at the forecast in a moment. But right now, we're going to the sports where the Montreal Canadiens have drawn first blood. They did surrender the first goal 33 seconds of the game last night before they roared back with 4 of their own goals in the opening 20 minutes. And eventually, it was a 6-2 win over the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Final. Canadiens coach Martin St. Louis describing the process of quickly flipping the page after just on Monday, the Game 7 victory over the Buffalo Sabres that sent them to this Game 1.
You got to be careful in giving so much information to players in a short amount of time. You got to pick a couple things and try to address that, and that's what we did.
In the NHL's Western Conference Final, we've got the Colorado Avalanche and the Vegas Golden Knights taking to the ice tonight. Vegas has a 1-0 series lead early in that set. Here in Victoria, first off, the Shamrocks opening up their Western Lacrosse Association season tonight. Victoria hosting Coquitlam at the Q Center. That begins their regular season. For Pacific FC, another story there, they have parted ways with the head coach. Winless all season so far. They were winless in the last few games of the last season as well. They haven't had a win since sometime last year. It's been a while. So a head coach, James Merriman, has parted ways with the club following what they're calling a mutual termination. The first assistant coach, Yanni Salonices, will take charge of the club's upcoming Cavalry FC match on Sunday. And then what happens beyond that, we're still waiting on information as the club will, it says, news is forthcoming on a coaching decision. Now, for the Toronto Blue Jays, they're back in action tonight playing host to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the opener of a 3-game set. Toronto wrapped up their 4-game series with the Yankees last night with a 2-0 win. So they split that 4-game series. 2 wins for the Jays, 2 for New York. And that's your sports 7:09. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather, a fairly easygoing Friday commute. If you see a crash or accident, text me at 71010. But so far, we're problem-free other than the paving work back on Cook Street to either side of Finlayson and a bit of eastbound Finlayson towards Cook affected at times as well, which is the same story as it has been all this week. And I think we're expecting more of this next week as well for Cook at Finlayson. I was picking on Souk as our neighborhood today to sort of judge commuting times out of the West Shore. Still lighter than usual. It's taking about 50 minutes from downtown Souk to downtown Victoria, which is, a little quicker than it can be. And then for the weather, look at that. It's now going to be fairly dry right through the weekend. We do still have showers in the forecast, but it might not be until Monday now. Originally, we thought Sunday we could start to see the rainfall. That's kicking down until Monday. So for Friday, which is today, highs of 22 in the sun. Saturday, sunshine, highs of 19. Sunday, mix of sun and cloud, highs of 17 degrees. So staying nice and dry for so many things, like the Oak Bay Half Marathon on Sunday, the big half Ironman, I should say, at Elk Lake. And thank you to the texter for letting me know about that. We've got BC Lions at Starlight Stadium tomorrow. We got all these things going on. The Swiftshire Yacht Race out in the Juan de Fuca Strait. So many things happening and some nice, clear weather for it. What's happening in stock market land. S&P TSX in Toronto starting the day up 72 points to 34,481. The Dow Jones in New York up 365 to 50,651. Canadian dollar at 72.5 cents U.S. The barrel of oil is at $97.09 U.S. a barrel, which is up a bit from yesterday's close.
Don't attempt your morning commute without us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Lots of lacrosse fans in this town, and at 7:10:10, texter says, "Good morning, Ryan and Lisa. I am so excited that the Shamrock season is starting tonight. Could you also please mention that both junior Shamrocks are in action tomorrow? Both teams take on the Coquitlam Adnacks. The Tier 1 Junior B game is at 2 p.m., and the Junior A squad at 5 p.m., both games at the Q Center." That's so cool. So, yeah, we got the main team, the senior team tonight, opening up their season, and then the junior Shamrocks with a couple of games tomorrow as well.
That's cool.
Man, it's a busy weekend. So much going on.
Sports and otherwise.
Yeah. We have a guest coming up. It's Stephen Hammond, Victoria City Councillor. We were talking yesterday about his motion about the spray paint.
Right.
And we had a lot of mixed reaction from our listeners. The idea basically was, should the city of Victoria start exploring ways to kind of clamp down on the sale of spray paint? Should stores have to lock it up behind a locked cabinet? Should there be restrictions on selling it to minors? None of these ideas were concrete yet. It was basically just a motion to have staff go back and look into it.
Right.
Hey, staff, could you please look into ways we could keep spray paint out of the hands of people who might go and then graffiti everything?
Or tag everything, yeah.
And part of that is just the cost that the city is spending on cleaning up graffiti.
Yeah, almost $475,000 last year.
Some people think this is great. They hate graffiti. Anything we can do to clamp down on it. Others are thinking this is silly. This isn't going to do anything. You can just cross the border to Saanich and buy, or, View Royal, go to Souk, go to Sydney, go wherever, to any hardware store that doesn't have these restrictions. So what does it matter if Victoria does it? That was one opinion we heard quite loud and clear yesterday.
Right.
But the result yesterday, Victoria City Council did support the motion. They voted on the motion to have staff go and explore this. So that's where we're sitting. So Stephen Hammond, Victoria City Councillor, will join us in a few moments to talk more about his motion and what they actually hope to accomplish now that they're kind of moving at least to the next step of this.
Yes, because this would have to be the local stores that have to clamp down on this. So it would fall on the management employees of the stores to not sell to minors, as it is with all the liquor stores. You can't sell to underage with liquor. And they would also have to ensure that everything's under lock and key. And so that would change things too for local stores, a little bit more work for them. Will it make a difference if you can't buy it in Victoria and you can go to, say, a shop in Oak Bay?
That's the thing, yeah.
But where is Home Depot? Home Depot's in Saanich. So Saanich could sell it and Victoria can't. I understand the process of looking at it because of the amount it takes to remove tagging, and the cost is there, and that's the most measurable thing here, is the fact that they paid so much money last year to remove these tags. So it's worth looking at what exactly comes of it. Hopefully some movement on community awareness and just trying to get whoever's tagging, because we see similar names up all the time, to stop. How do we do that?
We'll talk to the councillor behind it in just a moment. But first, let's get to the headlines. Here's Lisa.
A 39-year-old Saanich man sentenced to the equivalent of 4.5 years in jail after pleading guilty last fall in what's believed to be the worst case of voyeurism ever prosecuted in this country. Investigators have identified 652 women and girls as victims of Yin Young Derek Chan. Now, he's going to spend another 2.5 years behind bars, accounting for time served at yesterday's sentencing. He also must register as a sex offender. Detectives in April seizing thousands of images and over 28 hours of offending video of women and girls being recorded without their knowledge, and photos taken between April 1st, 2017, November 30th, 2023, in the search of the suspect's home. John Horgan now has a dam named after him. the John Horgan Dam and Generating Station. That is the new name for the Site C Dam in northeastern BC. The province of BC Hydro making the announcement yesterday, officially honoring the late Premier and local MLA of Langford. Premier Eby said the decision to complete Site C through tough challenges help secures BC's clean energy future. The dam and generating station construction began in July 2015. It was finished 10 years later, last August. And the head of the World Health Organization says the Ebola outbreak in Congo is spreading rapidly and poses a very high risk at a national level. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus announced the UN Health Agency has revised its assessment of the risk within Congo from high to very high. The risk remains high for regional spread and low at global levels, but there's almost 750 suspected cases and 177 suspected deaths. That's your news to 717.
Victoria City Councillor Stephen Hammond joining us next. We'll also take a look at traffic and weather. See a crash out there? Text us at 71010. CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps for a comfortable home, no matter the season. Big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. Designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. No crashes or accidents on the roads right now. We've got a fairly easygoing commute from the West Shore into Victoria. Kind of typical on a Friday. I don't know if it's Flex Day Friday for a lot of office workers, but it always seems to play out this way on a Friday. No sailing waits at BC Ferries, and the weather's also looking up with sunny skies today. Highs of 22 degrees. As always, it's a little cooler by the water. Tonight, clear skies, lows to 10, and then we stay dry through the weekend before maybe some rain on Monday.
Thanks for starting your day with us. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
Covering things now at Victoria City Hall, we've got Councillor Stephen Hammond joining us to talk about spray paint, graffiti, and what the city is trying to do to clamp down on that and the sale of the spray paint that goes on to be used in graffiti. Councillor Stephen Hammond is here. Hello, how are you doing?
Good, Ryan. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So this was your motion. You brought it before council yesterday, and it passed. So the council supports the idea of exploring things to do. I think that's the upshot here, right? Staff is going to go back and look into several different possible things to do to try to restrict the sale of spray paint. Is that the idea?
Yeah, for the last 3 years, I've been meaning to bring this forward, and various things got in the way, and so it's basically there's a couple suggestions, and that was because of speaking to other jurisdictions within Canada. One is to restrict the spray paint to minors, and then the other one is to have retailers put them in protected areas or areas where theft can't be done, because there's a lot of indication indication that many people get their spray paints by theft. And I also want to make it really clear, and I put forward in the background, is that not all kids are doing this. As a matter of fact, most adults, most kids don't do this. It's just to see if we can reduce the amount of graffiti that's destructive and is very, very costly for the city. I note that the city spends around $600,000 every year. The DVBA, the Downtown Business Association, Jeff Bray told me that last year they removed 14,740 graffiti tags. And then I've heard from all kinds of other volunteers within the city that they spend literally hundreds of hours every year just removing graffiti.
I would love not to spend those tax dollars on removing graffiti. I think that's a sentiment widely shared here. We've been hearing a lot of text messages at 71010 to that effect. But here's the thing, and this came up a lot as well as we've been discussing this week, is will this actually do anything? If the city of Victoria alone went and restricted the sale of spray paint, we're a region of 13 municipalities. You could just go to the neighboring municipality and go to that hardware store and buy something. I'm sure you could get spray paint on Amazon. Like, does this really actually do anything?
Well, we'll find out. But one of the things about the notion of going alone is if every city waits for all 13 municipalities to first act, none of us will act at all. So Victoria can take the lead, measure the effects, and then we can invite others to follow. And one of the things that caused me to just pause this was when someone said, "Look, Stephen, you can get spray paint, anywhere." And I went and looked, and you can. And then I thought, if you're a young person and you're getting and your alternative is going to have to be to go online, then you're probably going to have to use a parent's credit card, and it's probably going to have to be sent to their home. So that might be a deterrent. The other thing is, because there is so much spray paint that is stolen, that also would be a deterrent. So if someone has to go to an online service in order to buy their spray paint, at least they didn't steal it from one of our retailers. And for some people, maybe they don't have the money for this kind of thing. So I actually went through a number of the sort of objections or some of the concerns in my background information and came to the conclusion we still have to do something. And because it is so prolific, and people, one of the staff members mentioned to me yesterday, it's a scourge on the city, that it is just so much of a problem that I got to assume we do something. If our staff come back to us and say, where this has been tried, it is completely useless, then I'm not going to waste any more time. If they come back and say, some cities did this, but then they didn't follow up on it, and we could do a better job, then that's going to be good. And then they could also come back and say it actually made a positive impact. Then that would be worthwhile. As a councillor, my job is not to run the city, but to propose policies and to vote on policies. And so I thought I went so far. Let's see what the staff can come back with.
Stephen, I'm wondering if the city is invested in or is considering investing in anti-graffiti coatings, because they're on the market and basically could be used for high-hit areas where it's really simple to remove if it does get tagged.
Oh, coating. Okay. Again, first of all, one of the programs, and this is where I put in the background, last year we spent $472,000, just the city alone. And then there's also something that's through our city's business and community relations. It has a ghost sign project. And that's actually where they go in, and some of it's to restore some of the graffiti and murals, but others are to put up certain things so that it deters, better art so that it deters graffiti over it. Something like a coating might come up in the information that they find. I'm not sure, but I'm interested in them doing a full review and finding out what can work best.
Yeah, because the whole point is, if it gets tagged or graffiti goes up, a graffiti artist is not going to spend a lot of time and energy on something that's going to be removed overnight. So it is a deterrent.
Through this process, I've discovered that there are certain things that deter actually people who are putting on the graffiti, doing the vandalism. So it's a matter of finding out what works.
And
all I know is continually pouring, and the budget goes up every year, pouring more and more and more money into it. There's got to be something to prevent it in the first place.
Agreed. And so what about being proactive in the sense of a lot of cities have walls where graffiti artists can come out and they can own it for themselves? Could we have sort of playing along, as it were, getting on board and have certain walls around the city where graffiti artists, not just taggers, obviously, that's a different problem, but they could come out and actually express themselves and paint it up?
Oh, yeah. And as a matter of fact, there are places in the city, and I've seen them, where there's all kinds of really good art. And so it was not considered the vandalism of graffiti, but really good art that is done. And again, that's all the stuff that could be thrown into the mix. I don't want to pretend to be an expert in this.
Well, there you go. Victoria City Council voting to at least explore options to try to restrict the sale of spray paint within Victoria. We'll see where that goes. Hey, one quick other thing to throw at you. We're talking to Victoria City Councillor Stephen Hammond. Something else that took place, another issue that faced council yesterday. There's this proposal to build several buildings, I guess, but one of them is up to 27 stories tall at the corner of Fort and Quadra. And it kind of seemed like an interesting issue because you've just finished an OCP in Victoria that sort of set building heights, and already here you got a proposal for one that's way over the building heights. And that just seemed like an interesting dilemma to be faced by council. Where did that go, and how did you guys settle that yesterday?
Well, that's why I voted against it. Also, Mark Gardner, we were the only two who voted against it. In the last couple of weeks, we have got something very different from our staff. They say because this is one of them, just like the other one I mentioned, where they said, we urge you to reject it. Now, it's not the first time they've done this, but usually if they say, here's an alternate of which they lay out all kinds of different things that can be done, this was so far out of the realm of what was supposed to be done that all they came up with was if you could go with an alternative in which we'd send it back to the developer and we can play with it. And then the unfortunate part, and I spoke against this, the mayor put forward an amendment to remove any comment about height and density, which to me is crazy because what this says to developers, developer in this case is the real problem with height and density, and yet we're taking it out, so we don't want you even to worry about that, and then come back with something. So if I can figure this out, you can imagine a developer that the majority of council has just said to developers, we want things that are coming in crazy. I don't know why, because our staff, until they get further direction from council, our staff will still say this is out of line. So all I did was vote on what the staff said is this is so far out of line. This is nowhere near what is supposed to be there, and therefore we should be rejecting it. So now they'll go back with the developer. I think the better message is to say to developers, don't come to us with this stuff when it's so far out of line, because you're wasting our time, your time, and everyone else's who thinks, okay, now we can go for crazy, and maybe we can just get crazy lights. If the negotiating technique is to start at the extreme, then we're just talking extreme minus some amount.
Yeah, and just to clarify too, this spot, Fort and Quadra is where we're talking. I think the OCP says 12 stories is the building height you want to see. This one was 27 stories, as you're saying, way above it. In the end, though, you voted against, but Victoria City Council did at least move this on to another phase. So it's not, they didn't kill it right away. They've let it kind of continue. It's not that approved or anything, but they've just let it move on to the next step. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So staff will try their best with them, even though they said, like they're so far out of line. But then they'll come back and we'll see what they come up with.
Well, thank you so much for updating that. And that's an interesting moment. I like the way you put that, though. Like, are we sending a signal to developers that, the OCP is just a suggestion. You can come at us with whatever. So what kind of message are we sending? We'll leave it there. Stephen Hammond, Victoria City Councillor, much appreciated.
You're welcome.
All right, we got to take a break because the 7:30 news is next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
Join Capital Bike for Spring Go By Bike Week, May 30th to June 5th. Register and find celebration stations at gobuybikebc.ca. Sign up for the Walk for Alzheimer's Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
Good morning. It is 7:32 on Friday, May 22nd. A little late for the news, so let's punch right into it. And here's Lisa Best.
We're going to hear from Saanich Police next hour about a 39-year-old man from the community sentenced to the equivalent of 4.5 years in jail after pleading guilty last fall to a case of voyeurism that involved hundreds of women. Investigators identified 652 women and girls as victims of Yen Young Derek Chan. He will spend another 2.5 years behind bars, accounting for time served from yesterday's sentencing. He must also register as a sex offender. Detectives seizing thousands of images over 28 hours of offending video of women and girls recorded without their knowledge between April 1st, 2017 and November 30th of 23 when they searched the suspect's home. Saanich Police Department Deputy Chief Inspector Damien Kwolowicz will be live on CFAX at 8:20 to unpack more of this startling story for you. The Site C Dam in northeastern BC has been renamed the John Horgan Dam and Generating Station. The official name honors a former premier and local MLA from Langford. Horgan originally opposed the mega project when he was in power, but ultimately decided it was in the province's best interest. His successor in Langford Highlands, Ravi Parmar, shared his thoughts on the matter.
Walking away would have been easier politically, but John understood something important. Leadership is not about making easy choices or easy decisions. It's about making the decision you feel that will serve future generations. John saw beyond the headlines of the day. He saw a growing province, more people calling British Columbia home, increasing demand for clean electricity, and the need to build the infrastructure the future generations would depend on.
The dam and generating station construction began 10 years ago in July 2015. All 6 generating units entered service 10 years later in August of 25. The opposition BC Conservatives urging the province to reach a new housing deal with the federal government. Ontario has such an agreement that includes a GST rebate on new housing and development charge reductions. That means eligible new home purchases in the province can qualify for up to $130,000 in combined federal provincial tax relief. Housing Minister Christine Boyle hopes that's something that can come here soon.
BC is working hard at negotiating a bilateral deal with the federal government, and that we are fighting hard for British Columbians to ensure that BC gets a deal that is as good as Ontario's. We are in those negotiations, and we look forward to having something to announce soon as part of our ongoing work to reduce the cost of delivering housing.
Housing critic Linda Hepner says BCers are not asking for special treatment, they're just asking for fair treatment. If Ontario families can get relief, she says BC families should not be left behind. And that's your news to 7:35. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question. We're asking, would you consider taking Ozempic or its generic equivalent in order to lose or maintain your weight? 26% saying yes on our website. About 20% saying yes on Twitter X. You can vote now on social media, also CFAX1070.com, the iHeartRadio app too. That's your news to 7:37.
Thank you, Lisa. It's the CFAX Summer of Rock.
When's that happening?
What you got to do is hear this week a song by the Black Keys and text the word rock to 71010. You'll be entered into a draw for tickets to see the Black Keys coming to Vancouver later this month, and Helijet flights and accommodations from the Rosedale and Robson Suite hotels.
And all those stories.
Yeah. And it's all powered by the Sax Point Pub in Esquimalt.
And this is the first set of tickets that we're giving away. What, 4 sets?
Well, we got AC/DC, we got Motley Crue, we got Guns N' Roses, all coming to Vancouver over the course of the summer, which is why this seems like a summer of rock right here on CFAX 1070. But yeah, right now, this week, listen for a Black Keys song.
And it's coming up?
Well,
you promise?
Sometime. I don't want to give it away.
You got to promise, though.
Okay. I promise I'll play one at some point.
Okay.
But hey, you've been warned. Rock, R-O-C-K, for all those people who keep texting us Rick. It's a joke now. They're doing it on purpose. I know it.
I know. Rick and roll.
Okay. It's not the time, though. We haven't played a song. We are talking about the sports. Big shocker for, well, maybe it wasn't a shocker. Maybe this was expected, but it was big news out of Pacific FC yesterday. They've announced that head coach James Merriman has parted ways with the club following a mutual termination, they called it. The club thanking him for his dedication, for his many years of service to Pacific FC. He has been with the club since the beginning. First assistant coach with the club will be taking on the reins for at least Sunday's game against Cavalry FC. That's Yanni Salasides. So he's doing Sunday as coach, but we'll see what happens beyond then. Of course, the Pacific FC Soccer Club, winless all season so far. And something was going to change, you kind of figured, and here it is. Victoria Shamrocks opening their Western Lacrosse Association season tonight. Victoria hosting Coquitlam at the Q Centre, so they're kicking that off. And in the world of hockey, Montreal Canadiens surrendered the first goal 33 seconds in before roaring back with 4 of their own to close out the opening 20 minutes in a surprise 6-2 win over the Carolina Hurricanes in Game 1 of the NHL's Eastern Conference Final. Canadiens coach Martin St. Louis reflected on the solid performance.
We played through identity tonight. Nice balance. We let the puck do the work. We were very opportunistic on our chances.
And then for the Western Conference Final, Colorado and the Vegas Golden Knights are in action tonight. Vegas is up 1-0 so far in that series. While we're learning a little bit more around what is still a very mysterious death in the world of NASCAR racing, Kyle Busch, 2-time Cup Series champion. He won more races than anybody across NASCAR's 3 national series. He died at the age of 41. And a statement from the Busch family and as well as NASCAR, kind of a joint statement, said he died after being hospitalized, no cause of death given. He was hospitalized with a severe illness, and he was scheduled to compete in the upcoming Coca-Cola 600. He was in, apparently, this is the new thing we've learned, he was in the Chevrolet Racing Simulator on Wednesday when he became unresponsive, was transported to a hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's according to several people familiar with the situation who have spoken on conditions of anonymity to the Associated Press. So he was in a simulator when he suddenly became unresponsive, off to hospital, and died. We don't know exactly the cause of death yet, though, as that mystery is still hanging out there. We'll keep you posted. Right now, we have the time in Victoria, 7:40. That means it's time for traffic and weather in just a few moments. And we've also got, at some point, a Black Keys song. Not now, but at some point. Stand by. Hey, CFAX Morning Show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps. For a comfortable home no matter the season. Big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps. Designed for comfort. The South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. No crashes or accidents on the roads right now. Things are looking clear out there. If you see something, though, text me at 71010. Let's take a look at Sydney. We never talk about Sydney because he's usually not as backed up as the West Shore commute, but it's taking you about 30 minutes to go from downtown Sydney to downtown Victoria right now. So another example of things being pretty clear on this Friday. Not a lot of traffic out there at all, comparatively speaking. BC Ferries, no sailing waits. And for the weather, that's looking up too. So we got sunshine today, highs of 22. Tomorrow, which is many things, BC Lions playing at Starlight Stadium for that exhibition game. It's the start of the Swiftsure International Yacht Race. Here's your weather for all those events. Saturday is sunny with a few clouds and highs of 19 degrees. Sunday, we've got the Oak Bay Half Marathon. We've got the triathlon, the half triathlon at Elk Lake. You're getting a mix of sun and cloud with 17 degrees is the high. And the rain holds off until Monday. Right now, it's 10 degrees. Actually, no, it's gotten a little warmer. It's 13 degrees at the Victoria International Airport. On the markets, S&P TSX making some narrow gains at the beginning of the day here. 11 points up to 34,421. The Dow in New York is up 282 to 50,567. NASDAQ is up 58 to 26,351. Canadian dollar at 72.4 cents U.S., down a little bit from yesterday. And that barrel of crude oil is up $1, but it's still below the $100 a barrel mark at $97.51 U.S.
In the kitchen, in the car, and at the office. Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Take us with you. Listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
That kind of sounds like Black Keys. I'll just leave that there, and we'll do the news. Lisa, what's going on?
Leave that sort of hanging
Just
there.
leave that there. You know what to do.
I gotta calm down now. I have some good news for you. We have 21 active wildfires burning in this province. That is not a lot, especially for this time of year, so we're doing something right, and so is Mother Nature. None of those fires burning are out of control. There's been no new fires in the last 24 hours. That means no new fires on Vancouver Island, so hopefully we can keep that way going into another warm, long weekend. The city of Burnaby taking proactive steps. They've installed a system to detect fires on Burnaby Mountain or elsewhere in advance of the season. The city says the system uses sensors and smoke detection cameras to strategy locations to identify the early signs of wildfires. It says the Burnaby Fire Department will be able to respond fast if the system detects smoke or heat and hopefully contain small blazes before they become out of control. Burnaby's Fire Chief, Miles Ritchie, says detecting these fires is critical to reduce their risk and not have homes threatened. The Canada Border Service Agency says up north, the continent's northernmost border crossing with the U.S. is opening today. In fact, it just opened this hour. The agency says the Little Gold Creek port of entry remains open until mid-September. The CBSA says that the border crossing saw more than 10,000 travelers enter Canada last year. The crossing is often affected by severe weather, which can disrupt the seasonal opening and closing of the port with Alaska. The crossing is about 105 kilometers from Dawson City on the top of the World Highway, and it's closed during the winter months. And NATO allies and defense officials have expressed bewilderment at the U.S. president's announcement that he's going to send 5,000 U.S. troops to Poland. That came just weeks after he ordered the same number of forces pulled out of Europe. The apparent change of mind comes after weeks of statements from Donald Trump and his administration about reducing the U.S. military footprint in Europe. Donald Trump's initial order is set up a flurry of action among military commanders and left allies doubtful about the U.S.'s commitment to European security. And that is your news to 747.
Thank you, Lisa. Hey, this is a good question.
Yep.
Texter says, can you enter the Summer of Rock contest every day? Yeah, do it as often as you want.
Multiple.
So it's all good. Just text us the word rock. But thank you for the question. Speaking of the text inbox, I wanted to go back to it for a moment because we were speaking a few moments ago to Victoria City Councillor Stephen Hammond. He did get his motion about spray paint passed, where they want to explore ways to maybe clamp down on the sale of spray paint to minors or force stores in the city to lock it up behind, glass counter or something so it's harder to steal. Anyways, they've decided to look into it. That was the upshot from yesterday's council meeting. Texters weighing in on that issue. This texter at 71010 says... where did that go here? Spray painting. I hate the solutions that impact the innocent. This will increase the costs to the consumer, further impact our retail stores. In most cases, the tagging has a unique signature. We need to spend resources to prosecute those guilty spray painters instead of placing the problem on the citizens. So that was one of the opinions. Another texter says, tagging throughout the city. I'm on the Upper Harbor a lot, and there's tags facing the waterway. Can we support the volunteers by allowing funding to buy battery-operated spray guns instead of rollers and brushes to just paint over it? Could we also compile paint color samples, perhaps? A notice to businesses to keep the paint color code on their buildings?
They've done that. And TELUS does that on their boxes because those are high tagging spots too. They come over and they paint it green again. Even the skins that they put on the murals that are up, sometimes those get tagged. There is a coating you can put up that removes tagging quite easily. It's just basically peels right off when you spray out back on it. But there's lots of options. I don't think we're not one and done here, but moving towards that and saving the money, that's crucial.
If you missed the interview, by the way, you can listen to everything we've done here by following Ryan and Lisa the podcast on any of your favorite podcast services, like the iHeartRadio app. You can subscribe and like and get it shortly after the show is done. We put up the podcast, and you can go back and listen to things like Victoria City Councillor Stephen Hammond talking about the spray paint motion that passed yesterday. A total change in topic coming up next, though. As the World Cup games in Vancouver are fast approaching, hockey is also having a moment with the Montreal Canadiens set to face against the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference, in the process of facing the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals. With all of this sports news on the go, sports betting continues to be a huge thing that is seeing an upsurge. And a new poll from the Angus Reid Institute is suggesting Canadians overwhelmingly support restricting sports betting promotions during games and broadcasts. Have you seen that? You watch a sports game and you're kind of inundated with the sports betting ads. Well, we're going to talk more about this poll and how we feel about it next.
The CFAX 1070 Summer of Rock. All right. Win a trip to Vancouver and catch a concert from the Sax Point Pub Summer of Rock lineup. Listen to CFAX from 6 till 6.
When you hear a clip from our Artist of the Week,
text ROCK to 71010 with your first name
to win that concert.
You'll fly with Helijet and stay at the Rosedale on Robson Suite Hotel. Brought to you by the Sax Point Pub in Esquimalt.
Stream us on the iHeartRadio app.
Over to the CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. By the way, the morning show brought to you by Thrifty Foods. At Thrifty's, happy is filling the garden with local flowers, herbs, and soil. Get growing with super savings at Thrifty Foods. BC Grown Garden Sale on now. We're still crash-free on the morning commute. If you see anything, though, text me at 71010. And volume delays are lighter than usual on all of our major routes. No sailing waits at BC Ferries. We've got it, the weather forecast, a fairly uneventful weekend as well, with mostly just sunny skies. Today it's a high of 22. Mainly sunny tomorrow, maybe the odd bit of cloud, highs of 19. Mix of sun and cloud for Sunday, highs of 17. And overnight lows for the next few days going down to about 10 or 11 degrees with mostly clear skies. The change seems to come Monday with some clouds and some showers by Monday, but hopefully it, stays on Monday. Give us the dry weekend first.
Ryan and Lisa. Mornings on CFAX 1070. Remember, you have us in the palm of your hand. For listeners on the go, listen live on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, you sure see it advertised a lot. Sports betting seems like it's having a big uptick in Canada. At least you'd think that by watching all of the games and all of the ads that take place during the games. Well, this is exactly what my next guest has been looking into. The research director at the Angus Reid Institute doing some polling on how Canadians feel about all of this. Dave Krasinski is here. Sir, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Big Habs win last night. We're riding high.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you're all on the Habs bandwagon, but I know a lot of you are. Last Canadian team standing, and man, they pulled off a big one yesterday, that's for sure. And maybe somebody even bet on that. I guess that's the thing people are doing more and more nowadays, eh?
Yes, it certainly is, especially if you are a young man or a man between the ages of 18 and 54. we had a big look at it last week, just how many people are placing bets. And it's still, it's about 13% of the population that's placed a bet in the last year. And so we took a look at that, and then we took a step back and just said, for all the people who aren't betting, what do they think about this and the impact on Canada? Only about 34% of Canadians actually say that they support the change that was made in 2022 or 2021, I should say, to allow single event sports betting. So we're a population that is certainly overwhelmed by the number of sports betting ads and the kind of the sports betting landscape, but only 34% support, 31% oppose, and then 35% say they're really not sure. So it's not exactly a super overwhelming level of support for sports betting as much as we see it kind of every day if you're watching these broadcasts.
That's actually some really interesting context you just gave there as well. This is a fairly new thing for us in the grand scheme of things. It was only a short few years ago that we even made this legal, this kind of sports betting in Canada.
Yeah, and there's still an ongoing kind of policy debate too, which in BC we still have provincial monopoly on sports betting. We don't allow, although you can do it, it's technically not legal and regulated to have international operators and private organizations operating in BC. Ontario has done that, and they've had some good success. Alberta is actually going online. I believe it's July 13th. They're allowing private operators, so they're taking calls for that right now. But we asked a question about that and said, do you prefer the model that a lot of the provinces have, where it's that pro-line betting, it's run by lotto corporations, and there is quite a strong support level, the highest in BC actually, 57%, who say that they'd prefer to keep it limited to provincial governments if we are going to increase this and offer online betting. They'd rather the province be in charge of it, which I thought was really interesting. Only 13% say they want to allow private companies and international operators in sort of a regulated market where you get the taxation benefits, you get revenue as a province, but you don't control the whole thing and you don't get quite as much revenue. So that's another debate I think we're having in BC, and it really is a new policy area, and the advertising angle, which I think we're going to try to hit real quick, is also really developing as we speak.
And then you also looked at the advertising as well, because that's a big thing we see a lot of. How do Canadians feel about being blasted with sports betting advertising?
Yeah, there's actually a bill that just passed in the House of Commons called the National Framework on Sports Betting Advertising Act. And it was very highly supported, 291 votes to 28. And it simply just requires the Heritage Minister to kind of establish a framework on sports betting advertising, because it is a bit of the wild, wild west. I saw a note. The CBC Marketplace did a study of this and said there's sports betting mentioned or on screen about every 4 minutes during a broadcast. So currently about 3/4 of Canadians and 81% of what we call hardcore sports fans say that they would like to limit the number of sports betting ads that can be shown during a broadcast. And when you look at taking it a step further, 52% overall and 58% of those people who watch the most sports say they'd actually like to have a ban on sports betting advertising overall. So we're not in love with it as much as provinces and companies are kind of raking in the dough right now. It's a very profitable thing. I think people are alive to some of the risks that it does pose and some of the things that are starting to emerge. So looking for a little bit more regulation from something that, presents itself as, all fun and games and opportunity to win big. I think people are alive to some of the risks of it and want it to be a little bit more tightly controlled.
5 years into this even being legal, Canadians a little tepid in their support of single event sports betting, and a lot of Canadians would like to see some kind of crackdown on the advertising of sports betting on the broadcasts. Much appreciated. Dave Korzinski, a research director with the Angus Reid Institute, who did the polling here. Much appreciated.
No problem. AngusReid.org if people want to read more about those two studies.
Love it. And we'll talk again soon, I'm sure. Have a great weekend.
Sounds good. You too.
8 o'clock news next. Lisa Best standing by with the top stories of the day.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.
Oh, hey, it's 8:01 on Friday, May 22nd. Sunshine today, highs up to 22 degrees, and we should stay dry all this weekend. We'll get you a full forecast in just a moment. But first, the news begins, and here is Lisa Best.
Good morning. Albertans are set to vote on whether the province should remain part of Canada or begin the process of a referendum. When they head to the polls this fall, there will be a vote involved. CTV's Graham Richardson has details from Premier Danielle Smith.
Muzzling the voices of hundreds of thousands of Albertans wanting to be heard is unjustifiable in a free and democratic society.
If you are pro-Canada in Alberta, you will have a chance to vote on that, according to the Premier. If you are a separatist in Alberta, your vote to say, yes, I would like to kick off this process like she referenced, will mean another referendum, another process down the line. Already, some of the separatists are not happy.
In reaction to the news yesterday, a quick response from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre declaring himself a strong Canadian federalist, pushing for a strong Alberta within United Canada, saying that's what all Conservatives are actually campaigning for. As Canadian banks get set to report second quarter results next week, analysts expect year-over-year gains despite a challenging operating environment and slowing loan growth.
Analysts say the banks are likely to post solid growth in earnings per share, but investors will be eager to hear what executives expect for the second half of the year. This quarter is expected to come with an overall uptick in provisions for credit losses, which is the money set aside by banks to cover loans in case of default. The results come against the backdrop of a still uncertain economy, with employment having risen this year, weakened activity in the housing market, and lingering questions over Canada's trade relationship with the United States. Michelle Zedekian, The Canadian Press, Toronto.
Health officials defending the decision to bar a Detroit-bound Air France passenger traveling from an Ebola hot zone in Central Africa from entering the States. The flight from Paris was diverted to Canada. Instead, the passenger disembarked. Canadian officials say the passenger didn't show any symptoms and is unlikely to spread the Ebola virus. Well, Deborah Mister was a passenger on that flight. She says the captain announced that the flight was being diverted to Montreal, and the whole tone changed.
The flight attendants all had masks on, which no one had on prior to that announcement. So it was really concerning, like, what is going on here?
No doubt. And also concerning WHO chief saying that the Ebola outbreak in Congo is spreading rapidly and now poses a very high risk at a national level. Ahead of a meeting in Sweden with foreign ministers of NATO countries, Secretary of State in the U.S., Marco Rubio, has been talking about the Middle East this morning. He says there are, in his words, slight progress with talks with Iran, but there's also sticking issues.
We're going to have to address the issue of enrichment. We're going to have to address the issue of the highly enriched uranium. And then added to this, of course, is the issue of the Straits. Iran is trying to create a tolling system. They're trying to convince Oman, by the way, to join them in this tolling system in an international waterway. There is not a country in the world that should accept that.
To the issue of late-night TV show hosting, and now there is a hole. Stephen Colbert hosting late-night show for one final time last night, 11 years, marking the end of an era, and what was old is new again. He brought Paul McCartney on stage as a musical guest, the first time back at Ed Sullivan Theatre in 60 years. He previously performed there with the Beatles in 68. Now, while CBS says a cancellation was for a financial reason, Colbert did his part in playing up the controversy that was more linked to the feud he has with the U.S. president.
If you're just tuning into The Late Show, you missed a lot. I realized pretty soon in this job that our job over here was different. We were here to feel the news with you. And I don't know about you, but I sure have felt it.
Colbert hosting the late night show for 11 years after taking over for Letterman in 2015. He's now moving on to become a writer, a fantasy writer for that matter. That's your news to 6:05. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question this morning. Would you consider taking Ozempic or the generic equivalent in order to lose or maintain your weight? 26% saying yes on our website. You can vote, CFAX1070.com or the iHeartRadio app. I'm Lisa Best, your news time, 8:07.
Thanks, Lisa. Sunshine today. Sunshine all weekend, in fact, with maybe a few clouds on Sunday. The rain looks like it's going to be nice and hold off until Monday. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
full forecast.
good.
Yeah. So much going on this weekend, too.
Well, the run is.
Yeah, there's the Oak Bay Half Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
There's the BC Lions playing in Langford tomorrow, Starlight Stadium. There's a different team, though, that plays at Starlight Stadium, and that's, of course, Pacific FC, and they just had some big news yesterday. They have parted ways with head coach James Merriman. They called it a mutual termination. Now, this is a team that is winless all season so far in the Canadian Premier League of Soccer. What's going to be happening next? We don't really know what the full plan is for coach, but they do say that at least for the Sunday's match against Cavalry FC, the first assistant coach, Yanni Salasithes, will be taking the reins, at least for then. Further information forthcoming. Also in local sports, the Victoria Shamrocks opening their Western Conference Association season tonight. Victoria hosting Coquitlam at the Q Centre. In hockey, the Montreal Canadiens made a statement last night to open the NHL's Eastern Conference Final. It was a 6-2 win, fueled by a 4-1 first period, as the Habs snatched home ice advantage away from the Carolina Hurricanes to take a 1-0 edge in the best-of-7 series. The Colorado Avalanche look to even their series when they host the Vegas Golden Knights tonight in the NHL's Western Conference Final. Vegas stunned Colorado with a 4-2 win in Game 1 on Wednesday to take an early lead in that best-of-7. Toronto Blue Jays back in action tonight, playing host to Pittsburgh Pirates, I should say. They'll be in Toronto. It's the opener of a 3-game set, and Toronto wrapped up their 4-game series with the Yankees yesterday with a 2-0 win. And now over to the shocking news that Kyle Busch, 2-time Cup Series champion, he's won more races than anybody across NASCAR's 3 national series, has died. We learned that yesterday. He was just 41, no cause of death given, and it happened after what's being called as a bit of a sudden hospitalization with a severe illness. It has since come out that, according to some people familiar with the situation, but not authorized to speak by the family or NASCAR, so on conditions of anonymity, it's been learned that Busch was testing in the Chevrolet racing simulator in Concord on Wednesday when he became unresponsive and was then transported to the hospital where later he died. Sports guy Steve joining us in a few moments with his sports commentary, weighing in on the news about Kyle Busch's passing. That's coming up in just a few moments after traffic and weather. What's happening on the roads? Well, not a lot as we get into CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. Pretty clear out there. Not a lot of volume from the West Shore into Victoria. No crashes or accidents. We do have the paving work on Cook Street still either side of Finlayson, so that's happening still, and it's going to be happening next week as well, so watch out for delays there. But otherwise, fairly easygoing day. No sailing waits at BC Ferries, and in the weather forecast, sunshine today, a little breeze off the water, and a little cooler by the Juan de Fuca Strait, but that's the usual situation. Highs hitting 22 degrees otherwise. Clear skies tonight, lows down to 10. Some light winds starting this evening. We'll see if those winds carry on tomorrow. So right now, and I'm going to talk about winds for a second, because the Swiftsure International Yacht Race, of course, is heading out into the Juan de Fuca Strait as of tomorrow morning. Off of Clover Point, they have the official start around 10. All of these yachts racing out into the ocean and back. So what is the weather forecast for tomorrow when it comes to wind? Well, we got a mainly sunny day. Light winds, about 30 kilometer an hour westerly winds near the Juan de Fuca Strait in the morning. So some winds, at least, I guess. Light winds, but they're there. Highs of 19 degrees over the course of the day. Mix of sun and cloud for Sunday. Highs of 17. And yeah, no rain on Sunday, which was in the earlier forecast. Now it looks like it might hold off until Monday, so staying dry through this weekend. And right now the temperatures in the region are creeping up. In Colwood, we're already at 16 degrees. In Saanich by the University of Victoria, it's 14. On the markets, let's take a look at what's happening out there. S&P TSX in Toronto is ahead by 19 points so far. The Dow Jones in New York is up by 282. The NASDAQ up 118. So kind of gains across the day so far. And we've got the Canadian dollar at 72.4 cents US.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070. Oversleepers, catch all the highlights on the latest audio podcast at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
Well, it's time for Sports Guy Steve to weigh in.
The lineup in his first offering. Touch the ball, Joe. The golden goal.
It's Sports Guy Steve.
Oh, my goodness.
What did you say? You heard me.
Here's Sports Guy Steve. Just a bit outside.
I was going to do this weekly piece about a different sport. However, then the news came in that two-time NASCAR champion Kyle Busch had passed away at age 41. That news impacted me in a couple of different ways. Immediately, it brought me back to the day in a hotel room just south of Detroit, where I learned that my favorite racing driver ever, Davey Allison, had passed away from injuries he received in a helicopter crash. I had that same feeling in the pit of my stomach again yesterday. Then I thought about the fact he's just 41. He had a family with 2 kids, one of which may turn out to be a phenom driver, and all he and his wife Samantha went through to be parents. We often forget that athletes are people, and we expect them to perform, not knowing what's going on at home. He and Samantha had great challenges in conceiving a child. Finally, IVF worked. Brexton was born. However, the two of them came to a realization. The only reason Brexton was there was because they could afford to keep trying. So they started a foundation to help other families get the help they needed to have children. He stood beside her as they talked about mental health and miscarriage and how it impacted their relationship. Then, after more attempts, they enlisted a surrogate to welcome Donna Lennox into the world. Kyle was as talented a race car driver as anyone who has ever been behind the wheel. He's the leader in NASCAR wins over the 3 main series, over 200, including one a week ago today in a truck in Delaware. He was a villain for the good portion of his career, then became the underdog. He was the brat who became a dad and grew as a human. However, his greatest triumph may actually have been helping families live their dream of having a child. I'm Steve Young.
Thank you, Steve. It's 8:15, time for the headlines. Here's Lisa.
Thank you. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says she's received information about 12 Canadians that were abused while detained by Israel. The dozen were part of a Gaza flotilla recently intercepted by Israel. They're now in Turkey. Anand says the people responsible for what she calls appalling abuse must be held accountable. A series of last-minute probes led to the scrapping of the SpaceX launch. SpaceX got within half a minute of launching yesterday. Its newest and biggest Starship on the test before it was scrapped. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk later said it was a hydraulic pin holding the tower arms in place that apparently did not retract. Authorities in England are adding an on to their investigation into former Prince Andrew. According to a press release from Thames Police Department, authorities are now looking into reports about a sexual incident involving a woman in 2010. TMZ reports that investigators have reached out to the woman's lawyer, encouraging her to come forward. The promise to handle the claims with care and sensitivity. And of course, anonymity is a big part of it, too. The latest probe follows Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's February arrest in connection with the ongoing investigation into his possible misconduct in public office stemming from his relationship with the late Jeffrey Epstein. And the annual Catwalk returns to Fernwood next weekend, 2 to 4 next Saturday. It's a self-guided tour of the community's most charismatic kittens. This year features 41 cats at 29 different cat stops at various homes. You can vote on them. Your $2 donation will support the Victoria Humane Society. Is it popular? Well, 500 cat lovers turned out for the event last year alone. That's your news to 8:16.
Thank you, Lisa. Well, a story we've had in the news, and you've been talking about this morning, is this Saanich man sentenced to 4.5 years in prison, roughly 2.5 years remaining on his sentence due to time already served in custody, after he pled guilty to several charges in what investigators believe is the most prolific case of voyeurism ever prosecuted in the whole country. 652 identified victims.
It's staggering, isn't it?
Staggering number.
And the fact that only 40 have actually been identified and contacted. Police have talked to.
Well, this is obviously getting a lot of attention. It's happened right here at home. So Inspector Damian Kowalowicz with the Saanich Police is going to join us on the line in a few moments to talk a bit more about this case, this investigation, and what we need to know. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. By the way, the whole morning show brought to you by Bluebird Cabs. Need a cab? Download the new Bluebird Cabs app at Bluebird Cabs Ltd. They're proudly local, Canadian owned and run since 1946. What's happening on the roads? Well, we don't have a lot right now. We've got clear commute volume for the west shore to Victoria. There aren't any crashes or accidents. Doing traffic and weather's hard because there's like nothing to talk about.
Well, I got to tell you, I have taken Cook to Finlayson.
That's still a problem.
That is a headache.
Yeah.
Because it's down to single alternating lane on the northbound side. So it really squeezes. Trying to get on the Maplewood is a squeeze. It's just not pretty through there at all. The paving looks good and they're doing it in record time. I give them that. They're cooking right through that project. But for drivers, tough.
Well, there you go. That's a good one. Cook Street paving at Finlayson continues, but otherwise we're looking pretty good this morning. And for the weather, it is a sunny day. A little light wind off the Juan de Fuca Strait by this afternoon, but highs of 22 degrees, cooler by the windy water. Hopefully those winds continue for the Swiftsure International Yacht Race tomorrow, which is going to be kicking off of Clover Point in the morning. Clear skies tonight, lows down to 10. Mainly sunny tomorrow with some light winds westerly off the Juan de Fuca Strait expected. Highs of 19, cooler by the water. Sunday, mix of sun and cloud, highs of 17. Got a few clouds overnight into Monday where the showers are in theory going to arrive. We originally thought maybe Monday or maybe Sunday that might show up. Now it looks like Monday is where we could get some showers across Greater Victoria, and then it clears up in our long range forecast for midweek next week. Right now for the temperatures around the region, I'm looking at outside the CFAX studios here in Esquimalt, 16 degrees. The official temperature at the Victoria International Airport is 15 right now.
Ryan and Lisa are ready when you are.
Good morning.
Day or night, find the highlights under latest audio at CFAX1070.com and on the free iHeartRadio app.
I believe I got joining us on the line right now, Inspector Damian Kowalowicz, Deputy Chief of the Saanich Police Department. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. How you doing?
Thanks. Good morning.
Good to get you here. So, of course, the whole city, like the region, reeling from this news. I mean, it's kind of weird because this is the final piece of a story that's been going on for years. This case that we're learning might be the most prolific case of voyeurism ever prosecuted in Canada. 652 identified victims. It's all wrapped up, but I think everybody's still feeling a little, I don't know, not knowing how to feel about this. How's Saanich Police feeling about this?
Well, we feel like the community is definitely shaken by this. The number of victims in this case was unprecedented. Investigators from our special investigation section have been doing everything they can, using every resource to support the known victims and, of course, encourage those who may have been affected to come forward. 652 women and girls victimized in the Greater Victoria area. That scale makes it a very significant matter. Voyeurism, it's very intrusive. These are very deeply and personal offenses, and we want to recognize that.
So the story is that the sentencing has happened in this case, and we've seen some jail time. The offender, Yin Young Derek Chan, 39 years old, has been ordered to provide a DNA sample to the National Sex Offender Registry. So that's the outcome here. But do you mind if we rewind this a couple of years ago, or actually several years ago, when this all started? Talk about how this all began.
Certainly. The investigation itself began in early 2024. Our detectives from our special investigation section were alerted about sexualized images and videos that had been uploaded online. And we work with partner agencies and different law enforcement agencies regularly. In this case, it was the British Columbia Integrated Child Exploitation Unit who alerted us to this. From there, the investigation began. Because of the seriousness of it and the deeply personal offenses, we put a full team of detectives on it. Those detectives worked on obtaining evidence, identifying the accused, in this case, Mr. Chan, revealed thousands of images, over 30 hours of videos. Many of those have been recorded and shared online, including internationally, which we can get to later. From there, we advanced the case forward to what you see today, which is with a guilty plea resulting in jail time and other requirements for the accused.
Damien, this is just so vastly insulting to the women of this community. Is there an age range that you can share of the women affected?
What I can share with you is that some of the victims in this case were categorized as children, and some were adults. So there was a real variety here, which makes it that much more disturbing. These are extremely serious matters, and for your listeners, if anyone's not familiar with the definition of voyeurism, it's when someone secretly watches or records somebody without their knowledge or consent in a situation where there's an expectation of privacy, and it's for a sexual purpose. So in this case, Mr. Chen was filming and photographing people in retail stores, including change rooms, beach areas, anywhere really where people were moving about, where they would reasonably expect to feel safe and private. It's very concerning. It's completely unacceptable. The victims did nothing wrong. People were going about their normal days, and we put a lot into this because we know how much it affected everybody in the community.
It's so invasive. How do you determine as a woman if you're one of the 652?
It's such a good question, and one that we've been getting regularly. This is a very unique scenario where we have hundreds of unidentified victims. Knowing if you were photographed, it could be impossible in some cases. Folks may never know. Some people have already reached out to us and believe they have been affected if they had a feeling or a moment in their past. And of course, just for a gentle reminder, the offenses in this matter that were before the courts occurred between 2017 and 2023. That's the evidence we recovered. We are asking people to come forward if you think you may have been affected. We obviously can't share photographs. We have to balance the protection and the integrity of these victims and their right to privacy We also have to protect the exact locations of all these offenses where it happens. So everyone's protected. However, there really is no perfect answer to say whether you were affected or not. What I can say is this has greatly affected the community, and it has greatly affected what we know 652 women and girls, non-discriminate selection, young and old, by Mr. Chen, which makes this just so difficult for everybody.
But I guess if there's... Go ahead, Lisa.
Sharing the photo would be adding insult to injury at this point. But you did say that the photos were shared online somewhere and video.
As part of the investigation, we learned that Mr. Chen had been sharing the photographs on websites on the internet internationally. That led us down a path to help with this matter. We have done everything we can to try to get as many of those removed. The general public knows scrubbing the internet is virtually impossible. That being said, we're doing everything we can to work with some of these websites to have this content removed, working with the offender initially, trying to get photographs removed, and balancing the rights to the victims. This is another element of victimization that has gone along with these photographs and images. You're absolutely right.
We're at a time with Inspector Damian Kowalowicz with Saanich Police, a deputy chief, talking about the kind of, I guess, sort of resolution to this case. A sentencing has come down for the Saanich man, Yin Young Derek Chan, who already had pleaded guilty to the offenses we're talking about here. He's now been sentenced. But I guess it's not quite the end of the story. If more women do come forward, could this be reopened again?
What I can say is that our investigators are currently working on this. It is still active. Yes, there has been sentencing. We are still proactively trying to identify as many of the remaining victims as we can to provide support, and we have not ruled out forwarding more charges to the BC Prosecution Service by way of Crown Counsel if we need to in the future.
Hey, thank you for talking us through the story. Much appreciated.
Thanks. Have a great day.
We'll take a break here, but there you go. Yeah, news that's been quite unsettling for the past 24 hours. I know it's the sentencing, so this is a story that's been ongoing for a while, but just sort of getting that put back into perspective. The most prolific voyeurism case ever prosecuted in Canada wrapping up, and it happened right here. Doesn't leave you feeling good. We'll take a break. 8:30 News with Lisa next.
From CFAX 1070.
Here's what's happening around the island.
Join Capital Bike for Spring Go By Bike Week, May 30th to June 5th. Register and find celebration stations at gobybikebc.ca. Sign up for the Walk for Alzheimer's Sunday, May 31st at Fisherman's Wharf. More info at walkforalzheimers.ca.
Get more event info at CFAX1070.com.
If it's happening, it's here.
CFAX 1070.
CFAX Victoria.
An iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
It's here.
CFAX 1070.
It's 8:32 here on this Friday, May 22nd. We'll get you a full sunny weather forecast for today and the weekend in just a moment, but right now the news begins. And here is Lisa Best.
If you're going for a swim this weekend, keep yourself safe. Nanaimo RCMP dealing with 2 separate drownings since this week alone. Around 6 Wednesday night, police called for a well-being check on a woman at Departure Bay Beach. A search ensued involving military search and rescue. They found the woman dead not far from the beach 3 hours later. Foul play not suspected. And while the search was being conducted, another report of a man appeared to be in distress while swimming in the vicinity of the 1200 block of Stewart Avenue. Emergency responders were able to pull him from the water, but he could not be resuscitated. Emergency crews and Nanaimo RCMP, of course, asking if you're going for a swim, make sure you're safe. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada is being rebuilt through the cooperative federalism between Ottawa and the provinces. Speaking in Ottawa this morning, Carney did not address directly Alberta's separatist movement, but says the province is central to the country's future.
I look forward to working alongside Premier Smith, alongside the Leader of the Opposition, alongside all parliamentarians, all 37 members from Alberta, and Canadians of all stripes, Albertans of all stripes, to build a better Alberta, build a better Canada.
Come October, Albertans won't directly vote on whether the province should leave Canada, but will be asked if the province should hold a future binding referendum to separate. A Prince Rupert painting with a mysterious backstory is sold for a high number at auction.
The 361-year-old portrait was once owned by collapsed department store Hudson's Bay Company, which has aired Heffel Fine Art Auction House to sell its 4,400 pieces of art and artifacts. The Prince Rupert painting's purchase price of $217,250 includes the hammer price of $180,000 plus the buyer's premium, and it was sold at live auction in Toronto's ritzy Yorkville neighborhood, where several other pieces, including art from the Group of 7, were also on offer. John Kennedy, The Canadian Press.
In movie news, Star Wars The Mandalorian and Grogu out in theaters now. Pedro Pascal once again stars as a Mandalorian bounty hunter in the film, a continuation of the Disney Plus series. He tells ABC News about one of his earliest movie memories.
My earliest memories of going to the movies as a kid is Star Wars. I was born in 75, so there was a re-release of Star Wars before The Empire Strikes Back because I saw it in the movie theater. Obi-Wan Kenobi was decapitated by Darth Vader in my very, very, very early childhood.
The Late Show with Stephen Colbert now in the history books. NBC's Chloe Meles reports CBS aired the final episode last night after announcing last summer it was canceling the program due to financial reasons.
Many of the show's fans stood in the rain for hours to get in one last time.
If you were to describe tonight, how would you describe it? Epic. Why are you so emotional?
It was such a good show. It was so heartfelt.
Former U.S. President Barack Obama among those who acknowledged the end of the era, paying tribute to Colbert on social media. He noted that for more than a decade, Colbert has been one of the top voices of late night. Chloe Meles reports the show kept the final guest under wraps until the end.
The gag over who would close the show played out as the night went on, with stars like Bryan Cranston, Paul Rudd, and Ryan Reynolds joining in. Pope Leo, they joked, wouldn't come out of his dressing room.
But it was rock royalty. The show ended with Paul McCartney singing the Beatles' Hello, Goodbye. That's your news to 8:36. Your CFAX 1070 news poll question. Would you consider taking Ozempic or the generic equivalent in order to lose or maintain weight? 29% saying yes on our website, 15% saying yes on Twitter X. You can also vote on the iHeartRadio app. Lisa Bester, News Time 8:37.
Thank you, Lisa. Let's take a look quickly at the weekend weather forecast. Sunny today, sunny tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud for Sunday. Rain on Monday now.
Okay, we'll take it for Monday.
We'll take it.
Sure.
We'll dive a little deeper into the forecast in a moment, but now over to the sports. The Colorado Avalanche hoping to tie up the NHL's Western Conference Final tonight when they host the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas stunning Colorado with a 4-2 win in Game 1 on Wednesday. And then last night, Montreal Canadiens had a statement to make, a 6-2 win over Carolina in Game 1 of the Eastern Final. That was last night's game, and the coach, Martin St. Louis, described the process of quickly flipping the page after Monday's Game 7 victory over the Buffalo Sabres to advance.
You got to be careful in giving so much information to players in a short amount of time. You got to pick a couple things and try to address that, and that's what we did.
Kevin Gausman getting the start as the Toronto Blue Jays open up a 3-game series with the Pittsburgh Pirates at Rogers Center. Pittsburgh counters with Bubba Chandler. Toronto split the 4-game series against the Yankees in New York. Last night, Toronto getting the win 2-0. Local sports, lots going on. We've seen a change at Pacific FC. The winless local soccer team will be looking for a new head coach after James Merriman parted ways with the club. They are describing it as a mutual termination. The first assistant coach, Yanni Salasides, will take charge of the club's upcoming match against Cavalry FC, which is this Sunday, and we'll see what they do from there. And the Victoria Shamrocks open their Western Lacrosse Association season tonight. Victoria hosting Coquitlam at the Q Center for the first one of the year. And more on the NASCAR world, rocked by the sudden death of two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch. Reporter Andrea Fuji is looking into those reactions.
At just 41 years old, the married father of two died after being hospitalized with what his family describes as a severe illness. They did not elaborate. Reaction pouring in overnight. Denny Hamlin saying absolutely cannot comprehend this news. Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying, I will never be able to make sense of this loss, but I am thankful that we had found a way to become friends.
We've also learned that less than 2 weeks ago, while driving in a race in upstate New York, Busch had asked for medical help while struggling with a sinus cold, telling his pit crew that he wanted a doctor to give him a shot. Of course, the cause of death has not been disclosed, but lots of people speculating on what could have happened. We'll take a quick break here. You've got your CFAX 1070 traffic and weather next. CFAX 1070 traffic and weather now. By the way, the morning show brought to you by Coastal Heat Pumps for a comfortable home no matter the season. Big savings on your heating bill. Talk to Coastal Heat Pumps, designed for comfort, the South Island's Elite Plus Fujitsu Air Stage dealer. Paving work continues. Cook at Finlayson on the side of that. Slowdowns there expected today and next week as well. No waits at BC Ferries and the weather forecast. Let's look a little deeper here. We got sunshine today. Highs up to 22 degrees, and it's already about 15 right now. We could see a few clouds here and there, but mostly on the sunny side, and some light wind expected this afternoon. Clear skies tonight, lows down to 10. Tomorrow, mainly sunny, light winds, 30 kilometer an hour winds westerly off the 1 to Fuca Strait. That's important news for the Swiftsure races. And I had a texter here just pointing out that it's 9 o'clock when the Swiftsure yacht race will depart, or at least all of the start sequences will begin off of Clover Point. That's the exact spot to go watch it. But of course, as the day unfolds, you'll see all these sailing ships fanning out across the Juan de Fuca Strait as the race begins. So that's tomorrow. And that's happening, and the weather's looking mostly sunny, highs at 19, and that little light wind off the water in the morning. Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud, highs at 17, and then Monday, the showers arrive. Right now, 15 degrees. Taking a look at the markets now. S&P TSX in Toronto making some gains to start the day, up 35 points to 34,444. The Dow in New York continues to climb, now up 398 to 50,684. The Nasdaq is up 164 to 26,457. Canadian dollar at 72.4 cents US, which is down a little bit from yesterday's close.
Ryan and Lisa, mornings on CFAX 1070.
All right, let's get our Friday wine vibes on with Rod Phillips, the dork uncorked, who's joining us right here. Rod, how you doing?
I'm very bubbly today. Very bubbly.
Is this one bubbly?
It is. It's not bubbles as in exploding all over the place and that kind of. It is truly called frizzante. That is the term that is used. So it's got a light, uplifting texture to it. So which is the frizzante. Tiny, tiny little bubbles. And that's what I like about it. I'm feeling good. I am feeling good about life right now. I'm feeling good about where we live. I'm feeling good about the opportunity to be able to tell everybody about this particular wine for this weekend. And that is the Castle Garcia Vino Verde. Now, it would be, you remember we've talked about this in the past. It used to be around $8.99 a bottle. And is now, by virtue of the way the world has been working, usually 15, but it's on for 12.
Because everything on the wine shelf is if you compare now to 10 years ago, it's like it's done that. They've all done that.
They've all done that. So even some of our favorites like Paraquita and Castle Garcia here. So it's usually 15 these days, but it's on for 12, 13. It is an uplifting. That is the experience you're going to get. You put it in a glass, you're going to taste it and go, I feel much more optimistic about the world. That has got fresh fruit flavors. It's got deliciousness to it. It sits nicely on the palate. Have it before dinner with an appetizer, or have it with a light kind of meal. So like salads, light vegetarian, fruit, that kind of stuff. It's not going to go with a steak. It's not going to go with a burger, that kind of stuff. But it is refreshing, light, and it's not very fancy. It's not. You don't have to dress up for this wine. You just have to be ready to be uplifted with this wine.
And that term you used, frizzante, that little bit of fizz. There's something about that that's just delightful. It's fun. That's
just
what I
say
think.
That. If you're ever in a bad mood, just bark out frizzante.
Just and everybody around you will look at you and go, "Are you okay?" And then you'll have forgotten what you were upset about.
Exactly.
That's how that's going to go.
Yeah.
Well, Rod, there you go. Okay, the Castle Garcia. It's from Portugal, and it's on sale right now.
Yeah.
So there you go. It's your Friday wine recommendation. And Rod, you and I are going to do this for an hour on the Dork Uncorked Show, Saturdays at 5, Sundays at noon, or anytime on any podcast service you like, including the iHeartRadio app. Look for us there. And I'll talk to you then, Rod.
Alrighty. Cheers.
We move from wine to food coming up in a few moments with the Vic Food Guys chat in a minute. But right now, let's get to the headlines with Lisa.
Okay, let's talk dams. The province, BC Hydro, announcing the change of a name for the Site C Dam. It will now be known officially as the John Horgan Dam and Generating Station. The official name honors the late former Premier and local MLA for Langford Highlands. Premier David Eby says the decision to complete Site C was a tough challenge, but it helps secure BC's clean energy future. It began construction in July of 2015. It was finished a decade later, opening all 6 generating units in service as of August 2025. A public health expert says Canada still has time to become vigilant against Ebola ahead of the World Cup. Canada is hosting the International Men's Soccer Championship that begins in just 2 weeks' time. The Toronto Metropolitan University Tim Sly says the rare, deadly strain of Ebola at the center of the outbreak in Congo and Uganda has a 21-day incubation period. He says that gives governments a window to come up with a robust health plan, including monitoring and testing people coming into the country. This is the head of the World Health Organization says that Ebola outbreak in Congo and Uganda is spreading rapidly and poses a very high risk at a national level. The risk remains low, apparently, at a global level, but there's 750 suspected cases and 177 suspected deaths. That is your headline news to 8:47.
Dallas from the Vic Food Guys joining us in just a few moments with some thoughts on a bunch of different things happening this weekend when it comes to eating.
And alcohol.
Oh, that's true.
That's
he does have a fun little wine tie-in to tell us about coming up next, and we'll explain in just a moment.
The CFAX 1070 Summer of Rock. All right. Win a trip to Vancouver and catch a concert from the Sax Point Pub Summer of Rock lineup. Listen to CFAX from 6 till 6.
When you hear a clip from our Artist of the Week,
text ROCK to 71010 with your first name
to win that concert.
You'll fly with Helijet and stay at the Rosedale on Robson Suite Hotel. Brought to you by the Sax Point Pub in Esquimalt.
Stream us on the iHeartRadio app.
CFAX 1070 traffic and weather. It continues to be a pretty easygoing day on the roads, other than the paving on Cook Street at Finlayson. That's still tying things up there. For BC Ferries, no sailing waits. For the weather, it is a mainly sunny day today, highs of 22 degrees, and it's mostly sunny through the weekend. We could see a few clouds here and there, maybe more so on Sunday, as we start to head towards some showers on Monday. But we're looking like we're staying dry through the weekend, which is nice. For all of the events taking place across Greater Victoria, from the BC Lions in Langford, from the Oak Bay Half Marathon, the Swiftsure Yacht Race, is a half Ironman happening around Elk Lake. That's just a few of the things going on. It's busy, and hopefully we'll stay dry through all of it.
Eat it. Just eat it. Come on then, let's go.
Friday Food Vibes.
You ever think about what we put into our mouths?
All the time.
You are cooking on CFAX 1070.
Yeah, here he is. He's Dallas from the Vic Food Guys. Dallas, how you doing?
Doing good. I'm not as happy as last week because I'm not in studio, but I'm here.
We missed you.
I know. Come back.
I miss you guys. That was so great. I wish I could do that every week. Seriously, I'd be saying craziness.
Well,
the vibe is there. The energy's there, you know?
Well, you're going to have to just sort of conjure up the energy here for us and get through it on the phone. Yeah. We'll get you back in studio sometime, though. Now, you've got a big list of things that are important for people to know about eating this weekend. So let's get right to it. What do you got for us?
Yeah, we're on the clock. So there's a couple places that are going to be opening. Noble Berry Dessert Studio is opening up today at 11 a.m. That's down in Cadborough Bay by Peppers. So the way that they describe it, they say fresh pastries, salads, sandwiches, and coffee. So if you like desserts, this is going to be something you're going to want to check out. On the window, it says crafted with berries. It's called Noble Berry Dessert Studio down by Peppers.
So basically, like everything's going to have a berry? Is that the idea?
That's kind of how I'm taking it. So it looks really cool. So that's opening today. Tomorrow on Cook Street by Pandora, where Greek and Go is located, the food truck. There's another food truck going to be opening. Opens tomorrow. It's called Happy Bites. And the way that one's described is it's cooking inspired by Pakistani flavors. So I sent it to my buddy last night. He's super excited about the chicken cheese paratha wrap. So he wants that. They got pakora fries. Sounds really cool. So that's going to be opening tomorrow. I don't know what time, though.
New food truck for Cook and Pandora called Happy Bites. That's tomorrow. Okay.
Yes, that's right. And then we got, so now we're going to go into events. We got a whole bunch of event-related stuff. On Sunday, we got Tequila Nights. We've talked about this before. Josh and I did a segment with Scott about this. But Tequila Nights is happening on Sunday. There's 2 sessions. There's one at 2 p.m. and one at 5:30 p.m. The tickets are $95. It's in the Save on Foods Memorial Center. There still are some tickets available, but not very many. The way it's sort of described is there's going to be specialty cocktails, premium spirits, and delicious food. So that's happening this Sunday. Both sessions, I believe, still have a few tickets left. So for anybody that likes tequila and tequila-related things, or just really cool drinks, this is going to be something you're going to want to check out, and that's on Sunday.
Dallas, I wanted just to address tequila because a lot of people associate it with shots, and I love sipping tequila. Good tequila is phenomenal. So they'll have it there in its pure form, right? That we can taste it and we can sip it.
I don't know definitively, but that would be my understanding. Is yes, there will be that as well as like cocktails and stuff. But there is going to be just pure premium spirits there as well.
Nice.
And I think that's part of the aspect that Scott's leaning into with this is more like education. That there is more than one sort of avenue for this.
Yeah,
because,
it's not just salt and lime all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
There's phenomenal sipping.
There's a place for tequila outside of your early 20s. Yeah, that's the goal here.
Well, yeah, it's like sake, like Nihonshu. That a lot of people's understanding about sake is very different than like when you're in Japan, what you actually find out that it is. So another event we're going to get onto. This one, it's happening on June 20th, but there's not very many tickets left, so I don't want to push it too far along and have it sell out. It's called Wingstock. It's the 3rd year that they're doing this. It's a fundraiser presented by the Victoria Firefighters Association. The tickets are $92. As I said, there's not many left. It's happening at the Roundhouse in Vic West. Essentially, if you're a fan of chicken wings, this is like the place where you're going to want to be. And if you miss it, you won't necessarily be too happy about it. They are going to have other food from local restaurants. They're going to have all kinds of locally crafted beverages and live music. And that's called Wingstock. And the proceeds are going to a very, very good organization. So this is something you want to support.
If you love a good chicken wing, this is the event for you. And I guess that's the thing. It's still coming up in like a month, but the tickets are almost gone. So don't wait on it if you want to go. Okay.
That's right. And from what I saw, too, actually, there is some correlation with this or the organization with Santa's Anonymous at CFAX. So there's some actual relevant stuff here for the station as well, which is cool. So then we have up next the Spot Prawn Fest happening at Finest at Sea down by Fisherman's Wharf tomorrow and Sunday. It's on from 11 to 5 p.m. both days. We're right in the middle of spot prawn season right now. So if somebody's never had a spot prawn and you want to sort of get that elevated experience of sort of an understanding of what prawns can be, because it's very different from what you get normally in like a grocery store. That's happening at Finest at Sea at 27 Erie Street. And there's going to be some local chefs there as well that aren't usually there. They're going to be doing some cool stuff. So, and for people that aren't aware with Finest at Sea, it is a spot where you can get super, super high quality seafood. They have a little market in the back of the shop there, as well as the food truck in the front. So that's happening tomorrow and Sunday.
And the spot prawn, I mean, it's our local prawn, and it really is an experience. It's, if you've never tried them and you've just had regular prawns, try a spot prawn. It'll show you a whole new world.
A whole new world. Again, it's such a massive jump versus like the grocery store. Like I had no clue that we could go to this level. All the things I am talking about right now, I have them linked, all the link to the tickets and everything on my account on Instagram at Vic Food Guys. So if you go there are links to all of this if you want to get to something. The last thing I want to touch on is Victoria Wine Fest happening November 6th and 7th. For people that sign up to the mailing list, today. This deal runs up until tomorrow at some point. Tickets right now, there's a pre-sale going on. They're 30% off. So if you're going to be going to Victoria Wine Fest, yes.
Yeah, if you want to do this in November, the hint is here. It's on sale right now, but you got to act fast.
Yes, at vicwf.com. That's vicwf.com. Sign up for the mailing list. You get a 30% off code. You can buy tickets even though they're not on sale, and they're, I think, $72 plus tax or something. So a drastic savings if you're going to go to that. And Ryan, we had fun there last year, actually, at Winefest.
Yeah, actually, I was there with you. Imagine, if you don't know what this is all about, imagine the old Great Canadian Beer Festival that used to happen, but just swap the beer for the wine. And it's kind of that vibe. It's a lot of fun. A chance to explore and try different things. If you don't know much about wine, but you want a chance to try things without having to buy a bunch of expensive bottles of wine, well, this is just such a cool opportunity. And it's on sale now. We got to let you go, though, because we're out of time. Dallas with the Vic Food Guys. Love it. We'll do it again next week.
For sure. Thank you.
Whew, we got it all in. It's a busy day with Dallas from Vic Food Guys. And that's it for today. That's it for this week. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks to Morgana Adby for producing today's show. And we will talk again on Monday.
CFAX Victoria,
an iHeart radio station. If it's happening,
it's here.
CFAX 1070.